WWF Monday Night Raw, August 7th of the year 2000. So from SmackDown, Stephanie tells Hunter that she needs space. Kurt tells Stephanie he will be there as a friend. Steph warns Trish to stay away from Hunter. Foley books Kurt and Hunter and Steph versus Lita and the Dudleys. And then Kurt helps Steph win, and they have a giant celebration hug, and Hunter is on the ramp looking pissed.
I'm already lost.
There was a lot going on in this recap. So
just making sure.
So in the parking lot here on Raw, Stephanie is pacing back and forth anxiously. Rock comes out for a promo. So the other thing that happened on SmackDown, the subplot here involving the World Heavyweight Champion, is that Benoit pinned The Rock after Shane interfered.
That happened.
Either a non-title match or a tag match, but regardless, Benoit pinned Rock. So Rock says he is not going to give Benoit a title shot at SummerSlam, but he can have one right now. And Benoit and Shane come out. They replay the video of what happened on SmackDown. And another video from SmackDown where Big Show took apart the stage and chokeslammed Kane through a hole in the stage, apparently to the cement floor below. And so Benoit wants a no DQ match tonight. Rock agrees. It was not right now. It was later in the show. But this went like 10 minutes, and it was fine.
Yeah, so I couldn't figure out why Rock wasn't going to give Benoit a championship match at SummerSlam. Because he doesn't even have an opponent. And SummerSlam is like right around the corner. It's like the rest of the show was trying to figure out who the fuck is going to face The Rock.
At SummerSlam.
At SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. May as well have just said, I'll face you at SummerSlam. Killed a bunch of birds with one stone.
It would have made things much simpler, wouldn't
But
it?
he wanted them tonight. He was going to whip both their candy asses all over New York City.
Yes. So, Angle meets with Foley. He says he should be the number one contender at SummerSlam. Foley makes fun of him and Steph, but says he will take this request under advisement.
Well, what he says is, Foley says, I would have saved that match for SummerSlam, but if Rock wants to give the people that match tonight in Madison Square Garden, here in New York City, well, I'm fine with that. And Angle says, I should be the number one contender. I would make the greatest champion in WWE history, and Foley says he will take it under advisement. Details, Vinny. Details.
Thank you, Brian. Well, that's why
I didn't watch last week. I gotta make up for it.
That's why there's two of us as well.
I try to make up for, never mind.
Hunter arrives at the building. Stephanie wants to talk about Kurt, but Hunter uses her own line against her and says he needs space. Then he says, our personal life is interfering with business. I need to go talk to the commissioner. X-Pac versus Rikishi. So Road Dogg's watching backstage, and they don't do the modern shot. He's just watching the monitor, right? They've got like a side view. You can just barely see the monitor. It's like the side of his head. And of course, they put Rikishi's ass on the monitor. And Road Dogg, just to make sure you know that he's watching the monitor, holds up his hands very far apart because Rikishi's ass is so wide.
I knew he was watching the monitor because he was actually watching the monitor.
That too.
We need to keep watching these fucking shows. I don't want to watch Raw like after the Monday Night Wars are over, but I would like to keep watching to find out what was a day when nobody was allowed to look at the screen anymore. Because the day's coming. You know what I mean?
You realize it's a 20-year window.
It is a 20-year window, but I feel like I've been watching people not watch the screen for years now.
So Rikishi hits the stink face, which makes Road Dogg laugh. And Rikishi's going for the bonsai drop, but Road Dogg just runs in for the DQ. God forbid Rikishi pins X-Pac.
Well, they're rivals, but they're also friends.
They're rivals and friends.
So Road Dogg thinks it's really funny when this giant ass is in his friend's face, and who wouldn't?
Sure.
But I mean, if there's real trouble, he goes to save his friend.
I guess.
This makes sense, Vinny. I'm fine with this.
I guess, except...
You don't think I'd laugh if Rikishi put his ass in your face?
You would pay him so much money.
But then if you were in deep trouble, I'd probably come down and help.
Right. Well, the deep trouble was he was going to hit him with a wrestling move and pin him.
We don't want that.
All right. Hunter meets with Foley.
Foley's office, by the way, if we haven't described this yet, his office is a forklift.
Yes.
Which is ironic, actually.
It's actually amazing.
Today. His office is a forklift, which includes an analog phone in the year 2000.
I did not notice that.
He's got a big red fucking phone.
I noticed the cactuses everywhere. Cacti.
It's not a cell phone.
No.
And there were cell phones in the year 2000. but he has a big red, like the hotline that if you're going to call Russia or something like that, big red hotline.
Or Batman.
Sure, whatever. But that's what he's got.
Mm-hmm. So Hunter is first upset to learn that Benoit's getting a title shot tonight, but he shrugs it off and says, it doesn't matter, I will be the top contender at SummerSlam and beat Rock or Benoit. And then Foley informs him, I don't know about that, Kurt Angle has said he wants to be the number one contender. And of course, Hunter's upset, and Foley pokes the bear. First he takes your wife, now he wants your spot. And Foley promises he will take Hunter's request under advisement as well.
He's going to take his request under advisement because Hunter did something that Kurt Angle never did, and that is he kicked his ass.
He did in fact kick Mick Foley's ass.
He sure did.
Over and over again. Earlier tonight, Victoria and the other hoes are protesting.
It's a Save the Hose rally.
Yes. So Hunter finally goes to meet with Steph. He doesn't want to talk at first. Then he kind of snaps. He wants to talk about Kurt, and the key thing is here.
Hold on, I gotta start with the beginning of this because it's so great. So Steph meets with him, and Hunter's furious. She goes, "What are you so mad about?" And he goes, "This fucking Kurt Angle is trying to take my number one contender spot at SummerSlam."
Yes.
There's a pause, and Stephanie goes, "So?" Hunter is rightfully furious at this answer. And he flips out and he says that's his spot. He's sick of this. He's sick and tired of this Kurt Angle thing, he says. If I see that guy anywhere tonight, I'm going to kick his ass.
Well, this is awesome. This whole thing is awesome. First of all, yes, Hunter is more upset about Kurt taking his championship, his title opportunity, than he is about Kurt taking his wife. But then Stephanie, the wife, she does not want them fighting for a championship opportunity. She wants them fighting over her. So this all makes sense. This is great. Right to Censor comes out for a promo. The highlight of which is the very beginning. Their music is just a siren going off, and like they have added a drum beat now. So I think it's technically a song. But when Steven Richards interrupts the siren to say, "Cut my music," I laughed. So they're in New York. He talks about Giuliani and Times Square, and the hoes are chanting to save them. And Richards invites anyone from the back to come discuss it further. And the Dudleys answer.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, but Right to Censor is cutting an anti-ho promo. And out to defend the hoes are Bubba and Devon?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, no.
No.
Except that if there are no hoes, then the Dudleys will have no hoes to put through tables.
There will always be hoes, Vinny.
Well, that's profound.
I mean, I don't mean it like that.
That's one hell of a fortune cookie.
I'm just like, I don't think they're an endangered species.
I suspect they've been around a while, and they'll be around a while.
They have been around a while.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
As I understand it, is the world's oldest profession.
Yeah.
So the Dudleys are right to censor.
Older than CMLL.
It would be. Yeah. Significantly, in fact. The Dudleys and Right to Censor have a basic 4-minute tag match.
I would guess that profession is older than the sport of wrestling. It's probably neck and neck.
It's very close. And there's a lot of neck-to-neck contact in both.
I was going to say, they may actually be the same.
Simultaneous?
Yeah, they might have simultaneously sprung up. Because, the hoes were sort of intertwined, and then, like, some guy got mad, so then he went after another guy. So, it's chicken and egg. Did dudes start wrestling before the hoes or right after as a result of them? They're both very, very old.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
It's a great mystery. the mysteries of life to ponder, to think about. Anyway, Dudley's hit 3D. Richards attacks the DQ. Okay, they couldn't let X-Pac get pinned by Rikishi. They can't let Bull Buchanan get pinned by a Dudley.
No. Gotta have a DQ. Do you realize, by the way, the good father's in there? The former Godfather.
Yeah.
How wacky is it that this pimp, who has been surrounded by women his whole entire life, that's his profession, suddenly, literally one day decided, I shall rehabilitate myself and become a member of Right to Censor.
This could have been a great wacky skit.
But it wasn't.
He just came out in a shirt and tie one day.
One day he had his suit and tie on and he was working for the man.
That's exactly right.
Fucking bizarre.
He is working for the man.
Didn't make any sense to me.
So speaking of, in the post-match melee, they go to put one of the hoes through a table, and the good father protests at first, and he is conflicted, but he shows where his allegiances lie, and he powerbombs Victoria very hard through the table.
Fucking killed her. It's brutal.
So Stephanie, after Hunter told her that if he sees Kurt again, I'm going to kick his little ass, Stephanie goes to meet with Kurt, and they're comparing gold.
They're fawning over each other's gold.
Steph's belt and Kurt's medals.
He's got 6 ounces of pure gold in that medal, and she claims her women's title is real gold as well. I thought that was funny.
So Steph explains.
She says Hunter is very mad.
And Angle stops. He like polishing the medals or just admiring them, but he stops and looks at her. He didn't raise his voice at you, did he? Kurt's awesome.
Well, first he says, why is he mad? And Steph says, well, he thinks you're trying to take his spot at SummerSlam. And Kurt says, I asked first.
He did.
Then he says, did he raise his voice at you? And she doesn't say anything, and he says, I think that Hunter should be a little more sensitive.
Yes.
I think that he should undergo sensitivity training. She says, Kurt, I want to thank you for being such a good friend. They shake hands. Just Joe is a thing now. Yep, Joey Legend.
So Joe meets with Hunter. Joe informs Hunter that the boys in the back are saying Kurt is the one guy who could take him out. Now, I don't know why. I don't know if Joe's telling the truth or if he's lying here. Either way, I don't know why he felt the need to say this to Hunter.
Well, he's clearly stirring shit.
Yeah.
Because he goes to both guys.
Yes.
And tells them the exact same thing. Hunter does not like to hear that the boys in the back think that he would lose to Kurt Angle.
Yes.
He is out. He is beyond furious.
He tries to pretend that it doesn't bother him, but it's not much of an effort. It clearly bothers him. He tells Joe to beat it.
This next match here, it's Eddie and Too Cool versus TNA and Val Venus. And this is like a bookend match. At the beginning of the match, Eddie comes down, and Val Venus gives him a pile driver outside the ring, and he lays him out. The middle of the match is then a fucking shitstorm of just a bunch of shit happening. There's 55 people in the ring, everybody's doing stuff, it's a disaster. And then finally, Val hits the fisherman suplex on Chyna.
Chyna, you say?
Yeah, the ref is down.
Chyna took Eddie's place and tagged herself in.
And Eddie, who was injured, climbs up at the top, hits a frog splash onto Val Venus, getting his revenge, and then Chyna gets her revenge by covering Val Venus, and the referee counts to pin. Mm-hmm. This was fucking... The finish was great, and the story was great, but the middle of this match was just like, what is going on here? There's a million things happening with a million people.
I did, in fact, I wrote down a million things going on. That is true. And the winners were announced as Too Cool, Eddie, and Chyna. So I guess technically it was a 4-on-3 match.
It's weird.
Just Joe goes to talk to Kurt. And what he tells Kurt, the burning secret that he must tell Kurt Angle, Triple H is disrespecting you and your medals. And Kurt grabs them. My medals. Joe tells Kurt that Hunter has reduced Steph to tears.
Look at this story. So Joe knows what each man is more concerned about. He tells Hunter that the boys think that Angle is a better wrestler.
Yes.
He tells Angle that Hunter has made Steph cry.
That's right.
He pushed both of the correct buttons to make each man furious.
That is true. Kurt promises to make Hunter cry like a baby.
I got to talk about this next segment.
All right.
Because I had a revelation during this segment. Stephanie comes out and she wants to publicly apologize to Hunter. She is so very sorry for what happened last Thursday on SmackDown. Kurt and I are just friends, she says. There's nothing more between us. I was excited to win. I shouldn't have hugged Kurt for so long. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. But I have since realized that I was very wrong, and I'm sorry. I want you, Triple H, to come down here to this ring and talk to me. So Hunter comes out and she apologizes again. She says, I think I know why my behavior has been so irrational. It's very difficult for me to say, she says, but I have been jealous. I have been jealous! The fans are chanting bullshit. She says, the more I think about it, the more I realize if I didn't get jealous, it would just mean that I don't care. I can't bear the thought of you with another woman. I am truly sorry. Do you forgive me? The fans are screaming, no! So Hunter's pacing back and forth, and his brow is furrowed, and he's all pissed off. But finally he turns around, and he gives her a big hug, and everybody boos like crazy. But now she says, getting back to business here, what we talked about earlier tonight. I don't want you to get angry, but we need to smooth everything out so business can be successful. I want to call Kurt Angle down to the ring. Hunter is fucking furious. I just hugged you. You're pulling this shit again with this fucking guy? So Kurt comes out, and here's the key to all of this. Kurt comes down to the ring, and he looks so fucking smug.
Yes.
Because he knows how angry this is making Triple H.
Yeah.
He's got this shit-eating grin. Hunter is fucking furious. And Kurt gets in the ring and says, listen, when we were teaming, all I could think about was how sacred your marriage was. And Hunter says, you motherfucker. You may have my naive little wife fooled, but I think you're full of shit. And if you ever come near my wife again, and Steph pushes him, she says, business is business. Hunter, if you really love me, you'll shake hands with Kurt. And Hunter hears, shake hands with this fucking guy. He's got steam coming out of his ears, and he's beet red, and he's so furious. And meanwhile, Kurt is so happy that Hunter is being forced by his wife to shake his hand because he knows how angry this makes Hunter. I watched this here and I realized, you want to know why everybody remembers this storyline for being so great? Because it is not quite as great, okay? But it is very, very close to as great as Vince McMahon and Steve Austin. Because these two men each had a role to play. Steve Austin was the common man who was like everybody at home watching this show who hates their fucking boss, and Vince was that boss. And there was nobody who could have been Steve Austin better than Steve Austin. And there was nobody, and that sure as fuck includes Shane McMahon, who's all over this fucking show. Nobody could play the boss better than Vince McMahon. It was perfect, these two guys. There are no three people that could play these three roles better than Stephanie, Hunter, and Kurt Angle. Now, granted, you could say, well, Stephanie is a terrible actress, okay? It is true, she's not the best, okay? But, as we all learned later on, in real life, Hunter and Steph do in fact love each other. So you had two people that actually fell in love and got married, playing the role of these two people who were supposed to be in love. She was perfect at playing this role here. Hunter was perfect at playing a fucking jealous wrestler. I mean, who could be better at that than Hunter? It's his whole fucking career during this period.
And insecure.
And Kurt Angle is just such a fucking... Because he plays the role on television of the white meat American hero babyface, who in real life married someone who worked at a strip club. He married a stripper.
Right.
Okay, so he's not what he portrays on television, and that's exactly what this character is. He's not what he is portraying on television. I just look at this and it's like, there's no three people, maybe ever, that could do this shit better than these three people are doing it right now. And unfortunately, we all know how it ends. They fucked the whole thing up because in real life, Hunter was not going to let Stephanie end up leaving him for Kurt Angle.
Because he was, in fact, jealous and insecure.
So at the end of the day, it was the perfect three people to play the roles. But because they were the perfect three people, the people that they were, it couldn't go where it needed to go. and they fucked the entire thing up, and nobody has forgotten it 19 years later. And I'm telling you, it drove off hundreds of thousands and maybe a low number of millions of fans when they fucked this up.
Well, you got the big picture stuff. I do want to touch on a couple of details. Stephanie is out there by herself at the beginning before Triple H comes out. And Stephanie says, "Hunter, I am so sorry. I'm sorry I've been so impatient. I'm sorry I've been so quick to anger. And I'm sorry I've been so quick to make assumptions." And there's a pause. And Jerry Lawler chimes in. "This is like the perfect woman." I died when he said that. We go through everything. Kurt's giant smirk, and even as Kurt is out there explaining that it's all a misunderstanding and they are just friends and this is about business, at the same time he calls her Steffi. Just so you know, that's going to piss Hunter off even more. And Hunter did not call him a motherfucker. He did in fact say he was full of shit. And that's how it all went down. And finally, Foley interrupts. And he decides to settle this by booking Hunter against Angle in a top contenders match. Whoever has his arm raised will get the title shot at SummerSlam. Kurt and Hunter are fine with the opportunity to tear each other limb from limb. Stephanie is pissed. Her plan's all gone awry. They're still hating each other now. This was an amazing segment in what has been an amazing storyline.
It's awesome. Everything about it is awesome.
Benoit and Shane go for a walk. The Rock goes for a walk.
A lot of walking on these shows.
The Snickers Slam of the Week is the Big Show chokeslamming Kane to the cement. You get Benoit versus Rock in a no DQ match, in which every time Rock gets anything even close to a finish, Shane interferes.
So fucking infuriating.
Why not just fight 2-on-1?
I know. It's like, why?
He breaks up the sharpshooter.
He breaks up the sharpshooter, and then he gets out of the ring.
Yeah.
And then he attacks Rock outside, and then he leaves him alone.
Yes.
I'm like, fuck off. Like, I mean, there was... I will say this. It made for a better match.
Probably.
Shane getting the fuck out of there after interfering.
Yeah, I would rather watch Benoit wrestle than Benoit and Shane wrestle.
But any fan with two brain cells to rub together has to watch this and go, this is fucking dumb. Why is this motherfucker not getting in the ring? It's no DQ. Mm-hmm. It's just stupid.
So, the wrestling was excellent. I don't want to alarm anyone, but The Rock and Chris Benoit were great wrestlers. Jericho makes his big return. He lays out Benoit, powerbombs him on a chair twice, chases Shane away, and Rock follows the rock bottom for the win.
I don't want to spoil the show, but I'm going to spoil the show. Jericho runs down to even the odds, and this crowd goes fucking haywire.
Oh, yeah.
They go crazy for this guy. They are so excited to see the return of Chris Jericho. And they're jumping up and down, and they're cheering, and they're so happy. And Mick Foley adds him to the main event. And what is his role in the main event? To do a job for both of the other guys.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So...
He got the last laugh.
I suppose. If you're talking about here in 2019, then yes.
2019, yes.
It took him 2 decades, but yes.
Yes.
So Shane and Benoit go to bitch to Foley about all this. And Foley says, I will punish Jericho by putting him in a situation where 2 world-class athletes can beat the hell out of him. And Benoit and Shane go, all right, that sounds good.
We'll beat his ass.
And then Foley says, no, not you two. Kurt Angle and Triple H. I'm adding him to that top contenders match. To which Shane screams, that's not a punishment. And he's right. But
no, he was wrong.
As it turns out.
Foley was right in the end.
As it turns out.
He saw the booking sheet.
Taz comes out for a promo. First, he buries New York to make sure he gets booed, even though he's from Brooklyn. Goes to pick a fight with good old JR. Says, a fully loaded Jim Ross, you call me a piece of garbage. On Raw, you said I was just another victim to the stinky face. And he's mocking JR, making fun of him, belittling him. Finally, JR stands up to him. Lawler stands up. Taz warns him, you sit back down. This is between me and JR. He knocks Jim Ross's hat off. Says, you just got punked out. I'd like to slap you across your face, but God beat me to it. So Jim Ross slaps him. Big giant pop. Taz is laughing, cackling, dares him to do it one more time. Be John Wayne, he says. And he's begging Ross to swing. And he's begging Ross to swing. And he's begging. And then Jerry Lawler pushes Ross out of the way and punches Taz right in the mouth. Taz takes this awesome bump. He lands on a folding chair that they set up and sends it flying, scattered, and he jumps up and geeks separate them. This ruled.
It was so awesome. Because, I mean, the reason it was so awesome, it's the oldest angle in the book, but Jerry Lawler throws the best punch in wrestling.
This is the key.
And he punched him right in the nose.
Jerry's punches are so unbelievable.
Yep, he stood up for his buddy.
Yes.
Great.
The Taz tried to bully the aging, overweight announcer, and this other guy who never gets in a fight, he's not gonna let this happen to his friend. Now, I think feuding with the announcers is bad news for Taz.
It's not good news, I can tell you that much.
But for one segment, it was awesome. Big Show, Edge, and Christian versus the APA and Matt Hardy. It went 2 minutes, and Big Show hit the Acolytes for the belt for the DQ.
Yeah, then Big Show and Taker brawled.
Actually, there was an awesome moment here.
Fuck, Shane McMahon is back in the ring.
Oh, that happened. I just want to come back. Undertaker rides his bike down to ringside. As he's getting off, Edge comes to get him. So Taker stops, he punches Edge, then turns back and turns the bike off, and then turns to punch Christian. That made me laugh.
All I know is when I'm watching Big Show and Undertaker brawl, and all of a sudden Shane fucking McMahon is back in that goddamn ring again, I was like, I am sick of this guy. This is go away. This is worse than X-Pac heat. Get
Shane
the
heat.
fuck out of here. Go away. It's in every goddamn segment. They brawl up on the stage, and Shane sits on the Titantron. Big Show and Taker brawl. Taker wraps a chain around his fist. Waffles Show. Show falls off the stage, and he's off to fat camp. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
That's not how the announcers put it.
No.
But he's kind of big here.
Oh, by the way, as we get into the main event here, Hunter, Jericho, and Angle for the #1 contendership. So this new fucking WWE network that they've got,
It sucks.
oh my God.
It fucking sucks.
I got another one that drives me crazy. Maybe this is just like a problem with me, because like sometimes there's like a glitch, and if you restart everything, it works again. So on the fucking iPad, okay, everybody, on the iPad, so if you got an iPad, you can tell me if I'm wrong or if there's a solution. You can't scan with the scroll bar at the bottom. So, for example, like if I want to skip through these entrances, they're actually, and this is the most infuriating part about it. There's a line at the bottom, and it tells you where you're at with the time.
Sure.
Okay, and there's a little ball above it. Okay.
Yes.
So you put your finger on the ball, and you move your finger, and it should scroll, right?
It sounds like it.
Well, it fucking doesn't fucking scroll. So literally the only way to move forward is with the 10-second thing, which, by the way, you have to hit it, and it goes away, and then you have to hit it again. It fucking takes forever to move. Why is there no scroll bar? What happens if I'm halfway through the show, and I go and I leave, and I come back, and for whatever reason, it doesn't have continue watching? I have to go 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 for a fucking hour? Why is this so hard?
I don't know.
Why did they change this fucking network?
I don't know. My complaint is, I mentioned this before, that you go to hit play and or pause, and then the icon and the 10-second forward, 10-second back thing, they're in the middle of the screen forever.
Yes.
It's like 15 seconds, they won't go away.
You got to hit somewhere else for it to disappear.
I've tried that.
Oh, I don't know. I can't help you then.
It stays
Is
there.
this on your computer?
Yes.
I don't know what to tell you.
So on top of that, so I'm watching something, I hit pause. Because often, when I'm watching this, I got to pause and do something else. I hit pause, then I go back and I hit play. Now it won't play. The circle thing just spins around, won't play. So I refresh the screen, which brings it back up, and now it'll play, but now it's muted. And I have to manually unmute it, even though it's a video I loaded that I'm paying for. Anyway, the network sucks.
It's horrible. So everybody quit, I think.
It may be.
It's actually not, but hey, if they got a lot of people quitting over the summer, on top of who quit already, I mean, could be this.
It's not good.
It fucking sucks.
Even though they have a match up in 5 minutes, Jericho attacks Hunter in a dressing room. Conveniently, the camera was already right there. And then Hunter is hunting for Jericho, ironically, and he bumps into Kurt, and they glare at each other. Eddie and Chyna are at WWF New York. And then we get Angle versus Jericho versus Triple H. So they're having this great match. It's a great pro wrestling match. Hunter is shouting spots at the top of his lungs.
Ross has to do the old, he's trash talking.
Yes. So finally, Jericho goes up top, and Angle and Kurt both cut him off. Actually, I want to cut one more other subtle detail here. Angle and Kurt have tension in this match, but they are working together to beat up Jericho. It is 2 heels against 1 babyface. Until finally in the middle, they can't take it, and Angle is the one who throws the first punch. Because even though Hunter is a dick and you hate him, he's also the one you're supposed to relate to. You know, in every feud, even between 2 evil bastards, you should be able to relate to one of them. So Jericho goes up top. Angle and Hunter both cut him off. They hit a double back suplex. They both put an arm on top of him, and the ref counts 3 twice.
Yeah.
And this place, Madison Square Garden, was going hog wild with this whole match for 10 minutes. It's all great. And then as soon as that happens, crickets.
Oh my God, everybody's dead. The announcers have no idea what's going on. The Rock is doing commentary. He has no idea what's going on. There is no announcement. Stephanie is arguing with the ref. And then The Rock hits the ring and lays everybody out, and that's the end of the show.
Yes.
That was anticlimactic.
That was very anticlimactic. Rock, by the way, we didn't mention this. Rock was on commentary. He had nothing to say.
Nah, he was very boring.
He was.
All right, you ready?
I am prepared. The finishes on this show were DQ due to interference. DQ due to interference. Pin after interference. Pin in a no DQ match after all sorts of interference. DQ due to belt shot. And double pin in a triple threat match.
Man, that was 18 seconds.
WWF Monday Night Raw, also August 14th of the year 2000.
I enjoyed this show.
This is a very good show on the whole. So on SmackDown, Hunter and Kurt were a team and got into a fight. And a quick aside, we've seen a lot of stories in a lot of wrestling companies where guys don't like each other, but they're tag team. They have to team to each other over and over again, and it's usually, almost always, there's never a good reason given. They're just a team tonight, and it never makes any sense. Here, the commissioner is Mick Foley, who doesn't like Kurt and really hates Hunter. So he's booking them together because he hates them both. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Fine. So they're doing a match. It's Hunter and Kurt versus Taker and Rock on SmackDown. And Hunter is annoyed. He leaves. Kurt's left alone. Undertaker destroys Kurt and pins him. Stephanie then goes to check on Kurt. And then Undertaker and Rock, who are assholes, terrible human beings, grab Stephanie and prepare to assault her.
Yes.
Why would they do that? What dicks? Hunter goes down to make the save for the woman.
Because they know it'll get a pop.
The opening of Raw and the closing of Nitro, I just realized, had the same segment. Baby faces threatening women, heels going to save them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because in 2000, if you threatened to beat a woman on a wrestling show, these fans were going to cheer you. And if you prevented the woman from being beaten, they were going to boo you. So baby faces had to attack women, and heels had to prevent it.
I hate my job.
Well, it's not 2000 anymore, dude. You're just recapping.
So my job's to watch the 2000 stuff.
Yeah.
So Hunter goes in, saves his wife, and gets his ass kicked as a result. That was on SmackDown. Here on Raw, Kurt Angle comes out for a promo. Compares Hunter to Tanya Harding, and then never really followed through with that. Wants to know why Hunter doesn't like him, and then figured out Hunter's jealous.
Well, he kind of compared. He said that Hunter reminded him of Tanya Harding. Hunter may be a world-class athlete, but he has no integrity.
That's true.
And what he did to Kurt was the equivalent of what Tanya Harding did to Nancy Kerrigan.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, as you noted last week, Brian, Hunter's great at playing a jealous wrestler.
Yes.
And Kurt says, Hunter is jealous of me. Look at what I've done in 9 months in this company. The matches I've won, all my championships. In his 9 months, he was wrestling in something called a hog pen match. So he's jealous. Hunter storms out, ready to go.
He says, it pains me to see Steph saddled with a loser like him.
Yes.
That's what causes Hunter to storm
Hunter
out.
comes storming out, and there's going to be trouble, but Shane runs out to hold Hunter back, and as Hunter is snarling and spitting, and Shane and Hunter had a much better, I don't know, they fight, but they had a better conflict here than Goldberg and Tank did on Nitro.
Well,
Shane holding Hunter back. Meanwhile, Kurt is back in the corner with the best grin on his face.
Yes.
Because he knows...
His plan is coming together nicely.
He has pushed every button.
A,
He is the ultimate troll.
I have gotten to this man. And B, I could kick his ass. Those are the two things going through Kurt's mind. This segment's so great.
And he's going to take his woman.
Yes. So Shane tries to make peace. Says the important thing is that you guys have a three-way with a Rock at SummerSlam. One of you must beat him.
Kurt would never do anything to break up your marriage, he says. Kurt smirks.
Shane says Hunter was wrong to walk out on Kurt. Kurt was wrong to call Hunter a loser.
And he says, I know that my sister would never marry a loser.
Yes. So Foley comes out. He starts making a soap opera joke that I'm very glad they explained. It's about 30-something, which is a TV show in the long ago. Foley then, because he hates all these guys, I will cut to the chase. He books a trios match with Hunter, Kurt, and Shane against the Dudleys and The Rock. And he adds that if Hunter or Kurt walks out, they will lose their title shot at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Finally.
Chris Benoit arrives, immediately gets beat up by Chris Jericho.
I should add, by the way, that when he made the match for tonight, Shane doesn't want to be in the ring.
Just like
Christ,
Russo.
we can't get this fucking guy out of the ring in the year 2019. Back then, he's pretending like he doesn't want to be in the ring. Come on.
Benoit arrives, gets beat up by Jericho. After the break, Shane is trying to calm Benoit down, tells him he has The Undertaker tonight. Kai and Ty meets with the APA.
This was a segment I was talking about Observer Live today. They wrote a bad check to the APA. They say they're sorry. They want to make out with you. I'm trying to say make up.
Yeah.
But they're Japanese. They're children who can't speak English.
Right.
In WWF. Yeah. So APA is upset that they want to kiss them. Farouk says with the tongue. They say, no. We have money and beer. We are A-OK. And they agree to, I guess, go to the bar.
Yep.
And Farouk throws in a comment 19 years ago this week. They've been here 4 years and they still can't speak any English.
Yeah. That's what happened.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Eddie Guerrero and Steve Blackman versus TNA.
They know Dave Hebner had a heart attack last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yikes.
What a weird team.
Eddie Guerrero and Steve Blackman is a very weird team.
Yes, that's so random.
Yes.
Now what's weird is because every time I see Steve Blackman, it just hits me. This fucking guy was here forever.
Yes.
He had a longer career than probably 80% of the people that have ever worked for WWE prior to about 2005 when they just stopped firing anybody. I mean, dude, he's been around forever.
Yes.
And it's not like, I don't say he was bad.
He was not the kind of guy you'd expect to last forever working for
No
Vince
acting
McMahon.
ability, no promo ability, just a very generic guy. But he wasn't even like a jobber. He was always a mid-carder. Always. It's crazy.
I mean, Steve Blackman is nowhere near as good as Doug Furness and Phil LaFawn. But they came in and they lasted maybe a year, and they didn't last because they didn't have what Vince is looking for. But Blackman doesn't have those things either, but he stayed around forever.
Yeah. By the way, Dave Hebner had that heart attack at 51.
Ooh.
He's still around.
Good. Anyway, they had a fun 3-minute tag match here. Albert hit Blackman with a kendo stick, and Test got the pin.
Whoop-de-doo.
Kurt's outside with an umbrella waiting for Stephanie.
Loved this.
And the camera cuts to Hunter's locker room. He can see this on a monitor, and he's pissed. And then, when Kurt is he's there to have the umbrella for Stephanie because it's raining outside. Then he tells her to hold the umbrella so he can get her bag. And he gets her bag, and he smiles at her, hands her the bag, and he leans in and he pecks her on the cheek. Even Steph's taken aback by this one. Mm-hmm. This is a brazen move. But again, Angle knows that it's working. And Hunter's being gotten to. And Hunter, boy, was he gotten to backstage, back in his locker room.
Meets with Stephanie, says, oh, you guys are just friends, right? Says, you should be by my side. I turn around. You're in the ring with your friend Kurt Angle on SmackDown. I go back down there to save you. I get beaten up. Friend's my ass. She says, well, maybe I shouldn't be here tonight. And he says, maybe you shouldn't. And he storms off. This is very important, what happened here.
Now, in between those two segments, there was a SummerSlam commercial, which I only bring up because we've been watching these Raws now for, 3 years. So we've seen a lot of commercials from that era. This commercial appeared to be like 3 eras before that. This commercial looked like it was made in 1983. Very low rent. We have the Stephanie Hunter segment. Right to Censor comes out for a promo.
They had a recap of Godfather nearly killing Victoria.
Good grief, he drilled her.
Dude, he nearly
my
killed her.
Gosh.
I don't know what his deal was, but he fucking did not protect her one bit.
So Victoria is now in the hospital and is threatening to sue Stevie. And Stevie is doing his, censorship promo, and he calls out the Hardys and Lita, drawing special attention to Lita's disgustingly lewd undergarment. Because Lita wore a very high-cut thong and very low-cut jeans. So her thong was always visible. This leads to Goodfather and Bull Buchanan. Goodfather 1, Bull Buchanan 2, versus Matt Hardy 1, Jeff Hardy 2, and Lita 3. 3-on-2 Advantage Babyfaces handicap match. Now, I glossed over it. I wish I had not now, but during the opening promo, Foley originally announced that it would be a 3-on-2 match, and Shane said, no, that's unfair. So Shane got added to the match. Here, it's a 3-on-2 match. It's unfair for the babyfaces, but it's just going to happen. All right. So during this match, Lita does not tag in till the end. She goes for a moonsault on Godfather, kicks him right in the face. Does a big dive outside on a bull.
She got revenge.
She may have.
For Victoria.
Yeah. Stevie super kicks her, rolls her back in, and Goodfather pins her with the Papa Shango shoulder breaker.
Yeah.
Edge and Christian run down. They try to concerto Lita. Matt makes the save, so they beat him up instead. We go to the friendly tap. I'm sure we've mentioned the show before, but those who don't know, Tim White was the ref's name?
Yeah.
He was a WWF official. This was his bar, and so whenever they came to town, they trashed it for TV. Mm-hmm. So it's APA, it's Kai and Tai. They make a bunch of homophobic and racist jokes, most of them repeated several times.
Yes.
Back at the car, Stephanie McMahon is in tears. Shane tries to calm her down, asks her to stay, but she says she has to go. He says, I'll call you later. And so Stephanie gets into her car and she drives away. Edge and Christian come out for a promo. It's a bad one. I don't know what was up with them this week, but they were not very good. They're protesting unfair treatment at the hands of the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Foley. Eventually, Foley comes out and says, the Hardys and Dudleys cannot interfere in your match at SummerSlam with tables and ladders. Because they will be in your match at SummerSlam with tables and ladders. And you guys better bring those chairs. And he announces the first ever, officially, TLC match.
Oh, man, history here.
He gets the crowd
the
chanting.
beginning and the end of half their careers.
Tables
right
and ladders
here.
and chairs.
Oh, my.
Yes. So
Hunter's backstage.
Who was
and-
complaining to him?
No, this is the best part. Hunter's backstage and he's yelling at Shane.
What was Shane? Okay.
And the key to all of this is that Hunter blames Kurt for Stephanie leaving crying.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though it was all his fault. He yelled at her and told her to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now he's blaming Kurt.
Yes.
So he says, I cannot work with this guy. I don't care what Foley says. I can't work with him tonight. And Shane says, just give me some time. I'm going to handle it. I got to go out there with Benoit. Give me some time.
Yes. Taker arrives on his bike.
Oh, fuck. I got Undertaker PTSD from this period. Gets in there with Chris Benoit, was in the world title match at the last show. He just, beats the shit out of this guy. And it's going for the power bomb. He's going to beat him. And Shane runs in. And I was just like, dude, this guy's on a rampage.
He is.
It's only going to get worse.
It is. So, yeah, 3-minute match. Shane wins in for DQ. Kane comes in for the save, but then chokeslams Taker, and then chokeslams him through the ring, and worse, steals his bike.
I did love that. I don't know why. It was like, when he chokeslammed him, it was just one of those things just preposterous. Like, the guy's weird brother comes down, he chokeslams him, and for no reason, the guy goes through the ring.
Sure.
Okay? He goes through the ring, and then it's like, I'm going to ride his motorcycle away.
Right.
And Kane gets on a motorcycle and zooms up the ramp.
The Cane Mobile.
I just thought it was amazing.
How confused would you be if you saw the Big Red Machine riding a Harley down the road?
Very. Incredibly.
What is that?
And someone right now is going to their motorcycle helmet and painting the red slashes on it. By the way, before this, we had a segment with Shane, Edge, Christian, and Benoit talking about The Undertaker.
Right.
And Shane gave Edge and Christian the night off. Are they a unit now? When have they worked together? That was confusing. Michael Cole is at the Democratic National Convention.
This is just so amazing because if you guys remember, and Vinny won't because he doesn't watch the modern stuff, but Daniel Bryan had this great character. He had a hemp belt.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty.
And he would come out and he would
sustainable
rant.
Belt.
He would rant about Sustainamania and beef and
leather.
vegan and leather and,
Yes.
and blah, blah, blah.
I watched all that stuff.
He'd get all this heat and everything like that. And then one day, Vince just woke up and was like, too political.
What?
It was dead. That was too political. Here we are in 2000. This fucking guy is at the Democratic National Convention. I'm just like, Jesus, look at this.
And the
Just
week
look
before
at
there
this.
was Republican.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rock and China are going to be there on Wednesday. They had clips of Rock hanging out with George Bush at the Republican convention. Linda was also there. This is related. Every once in a while, I will see The Rock's name pop up on a list of famous celebrity Republicans, and no one offers any evidence as to why, except he gave a speech at the Republican National Convention in the year 2000. Well, he's coming to the Democratic Convention too. So maybe there's more. I don't know The Rock's political leanings, but if anyone has evidence that he's voted or leaned that way, I'm just curious.
You're opening Pandora's box here, buddy.
I probably am. Undertaker is selling backstage. Son of a bitch. Shane congratulates Benoit.
Maybe he does what my father-in-law does, and he votes for Lincoln every year.
You can do that?
Yeah.
You can write it.
Just kidding.
Vote for me if you want to.
Nope.
Let's see. Shane congratulates Benoit on, I guess, a win. I don't know what he's congratulating him for. No, he lost. I don't know what he was congratulating Benoit for. But he goes to talk to Kurt. And he says, Kurt, I like you, and we have a great thing professionally. Please, do not screw up my sister's marriage. Kurt is...
That's fair.
Move whatever that is.
Missile command going on?
What was that?
It's Rob, of course.
Yeah, you're
I
fine.
mean, it is. What was it?
I was just pulling up something on my phone.
Well, don't do that. You're supposed to be producing the show.
I'm producing the
What
show.
if someone says something compelling and you've got the camera on the other guy? I don't want Vinny getting credit for my funny lines. Okay, go ahead, Vinny.
That's it.
Okay, Kurt is appalled that Shane would question his integrity. He can't talk, he says. He needs to go be alone. APA and Kai and Tai. The APA have determined Kai and Tai are funny, but they're still going to drop a bunch of racist jokes. Kamikaze this, Bruce Lee that. During the commercial, Jerry Lawler leaves because Taz is coming out. And they got in a brawl last week, and so they needed to make sure Taz is a safe working environment. So it's Taz versus Crash. Not Crash Holly anymore. He's just Crash, and he got hideous new gear. They do a match. It's like 1 minute.
This was so stupid.
Okay.
So Taz is coming down to the ring, and before he comes down to the ring, actually, we see Jerry Lawler walking to the back.
I said this.
Let me get to the point, you fucking geek. Jerry Lawler is sent to the back, and we're told that Mick Foley doesn't think that Lawler should be down there. Okay? Because they had a problem last week. Right?
Yes.
Okay. What was the problem?
That they got in a fight.
No. How did the problem start?
In ECW, right?
No, the problem started because he started talking trash to JR.
Yes.
And
Okay.
threatened him.
Yeah, you're right.
And so Lawler was there to make the save. So this fucking idiot Mick Foley, Taz is about to have a match, and so his solution to solve the problems
leave JR
is
there by himself.
let's get rid of Lawler, and JR will be down there all by himself. Well, that'll solve the fucking problem. So they do this match, and sure as shit, Taz goes over, and he starts bullying JR, and guess what? There's no one there to save JR. But then, Lawler just runs out anyway to save JR. This was dumb, Vinny. This was Nitro.
Hey, we got a Lawler punch. That was good.
We did get a Lawler punch, but like the storyline was preposterous. Like, shouldn't Ross be the one that gets sent to the back?
Well, I mean, Taz should have been the one suspended.
Or
There you
you
go.
say, you know what, Taz, if you lay a fucking hand on any of the announcers or cause a problem, you will be suspended. I mean, Christ, Foley's making all of these decisions. That was what he came up with to solve this problem?
That was a poor choice on his part.
Maybe this was a Russo script they found laying around.
Kurt Angle's backstage, wondering how anyone could think there's any kind of sexual tension between him and Stephanie. Have we mentioned how great Kurt is?
It's awesome.
Kurt's great. Just Joe comes in, and he warns Kurt, in about a half hour, someone wants to meet him in the parking lot. It's not Hunter, and it's not Shane. Is this a thing that ever happens? Someone wants to fight you in the parking lot? Well, I guess I better go.
Oh, but we don't know who it is.
But in any bar, any
No, it's
gym, any
dumb.
school,
No.
someone wants to go fight you in the parking lot?
Yeah, I'm not going to the parking lot.
No. Stay here. DX versus Rikishi in another handicap match. There are things from the Attitude Era that I've completely forgotten, and there are things I will never forget as long as I live. This is a Tornado Rules handicap match. So it's Road Dogg and X-Pac in the ring at the same time. And Road Dogg and X-Pac were such an awesome team.
Yes.
I mean, all the time, but especially in this match. They'll work Rikishi over. One guy will be doing moves. The other guy will be in the back showing off. And they'll give Rikishi like one clothesline and then cut him off. And finally, they cut him off. And this is the moment that I've laughed forever. When it happened, I've been laughing about it for 19 years. And I laughed my ass off watching it again. They hit Rikishi with a double clothesline. And they turn around, and Rikishi's down on the mat. He starts to sit up. And they begin to stalk him. And they hold their hands out like vampires. And they're creeping up behind him. They don't want to disturb him and ruin the element of surprise. And they zoom in, and get closer and closer. And it's time to strike. And they strike with a double nerve pinch. And they grab his trapezii. And they're working the hold. They have four hands on his shoulders.
Yes.
And they're shaking and snarling and looking at the camera. They've got him. They've got him in a double nerve pinch. Before Orange Cassidy, this was the laziest thing I ever saw in a pro wrestling thing that worked.
Actually, I saw Brian submit to a sleeper one time.
Oh, that's
I did, me and Buddy.
I'm sure
yeah,
you did.
I remember that.
This
Yep.
is way lazier. This is way lazier. But it's awesome.
Our
But they're
whole-
working with it.
Actually, I think he submitted. Because
maybe,
our whole idea was he was going to put the sleeper on me. They would raise my arm once. They would raise my arm twice. And I would fight out of it. And then I'd do a switch. I'd put him in the sleeper. They'd raise his arm once. They'd raise his arm twice. They raised his arm, and it fell a third time. And they rang the bell.
Match is over.
And everybody was baffled. And we grabbed our shit and we're out of there. Like, within 2 minutes, we were on the road.
I was doing a battle royal in Tulalip once.
He was so proud of that finish.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. We were doing a battle royal in Tulalip once, and somebody was like lifting me up in the corner, and you know, like every battle royal ever, you pretend to fight, and you jab him in the eye, and you get down. And I didn't know the guy. It was somebody from Portland. I didn't know who he was, but he's got me up, and I say, "You know what? Just throw me out." And he says, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, just throw me out." All right. And he pushes my legs over, and my feet get on the apron, and he punches me, and I step down, and I fall down, but then I get up, I look at Craig in the crowd, and Craig is laughing his ass off. So yeah, these are things to celebrate in wrestling.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can get out there and do nothing
Yes.
and garner any kind of reaction, especially from the boys,
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, that's a good point. So this match continues, and DX is an awesome heel tag team. Rikishi is a great babyface. Finally, Rikishi makes his comeback. He gives Road Dogg the longest super extended remix cut of the Sting face you ever saw. And X-Pac's on the other side of the ring, howling with laughter.
Awesome.
Now, this is probably Sean Waltman laughing at Brian Armstrong, too.
Yes.
But in storyline, Road Dogg was laughing at X-Pac last week for getting the Sting face.
Yeah, this is a revenge.
This is his revenge.
But then after this 5-minute move,
Yes.
they get in the ring together. Rikishi's just destroyed the Road Dogg. X-Pac gets in the ring, he throws one kick, and they both land him and pin him.
Yes.
That was the fucking finish.
Yep. One spin kick. And they dogpiled him
These
and
guys
won.
were working.
This is awesome. Too Cool comes out to make the save. Back at the Democratic National Convention, Linda McMahon was there. She's bragging about how they have registered 10,000 voters.
Wow.
And she also plugs that Rock and China will be at this thing next week. Something else from this era that I had forgotten, but I love. Every week, at some point, Hunter, because he's the biggest star in the show, he'll be in his dressing room. He's the only guy who gets his own dressing room. And he'll be lacing his boots or putting his knee pads up. And there'll be a knock at his door. And he has to look up and say, "Come in." Because he's the biggest star. So in comes Just Joe. "What do you want, Joe?" Joe says, "In 10 minutes, somebody wants to see you in the parking lot." And he can't say who it is. But Hunter, smart man. Stephanie's always playing these cute little games. I know what's going on here. But he warns Joe not to screw him. It'll be the last thing he ever does.
This Just Joe thing is such a stupid part of the story.
It is.
Has nothing to do with anything. It's just like,
Somebody thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Take Joe Legend and have him be just Joe, and he's the one who stirs all the shit.
for what reason? Why?
I don't know.
Because he's a jerk.
Kurt Angle's in the parking lot, walking back and forth. Chris Jericho versus Val Venus. I love that in the year 2000, on Monday Night Raw, there were, I guess, there were two wrestlers in the show who did not have some crazy gimmick or some over-the-top wacky character.
Okay.
Steve Blackman.
Okay, go ahead.
And the other is Val Venus.
Yeah, he's just a fella now.
He's just a wrestler.
What happened?
Yes.
Nothing.
The PTC happened.
He's out there in white trunks and white boots. He's got a clean cut haircut.
Jim Ross notes he's got 1983 white boots like Mr. Wrestling 2.
He's just a guy.
Just a fella.
He should have
Sean
mid-Carter
Morley.
written on his tights.
So we had a random good wrestling match on this goofy variety show we've been watching. And then Benoit hits the ring for a DQ.
My God, these finishes.
So this DQ makes Jericho the winner by DQ, which means Jericho is not the Intercontinental Champion,
Right.
which means Benoit can't challenge for the Intercontinental belt at SummerSlam. This finish was dumb, and it made Benoit look like an idiot. Hunter goes to the parking lot, where of course Kurt is waiting for him. They each accuse the other of setting this up. They each deny it, and then a limo comes zooming in, and they must step aside to avoid being killed.
Ugh.
Kai and Ty and APA are playing pool. Kai and Ty can't handle their liquor. They vomit everywhere. They get beat up.
Dude. Bradshaw takes Taka Michinoku and lifts him up like for a power bomb, but that lighting rig is
Yes.
over the pool table.
Yes.
He goes crashing through it onto the pool table.
Yes.
That was violent.
It's a very violent segment. These are all dumb and horrible, and if we've made them in any way sound entertaining, I apologize
They're not.
for failing to do our
They
job.
were a bit offensive.
They were
say the
very
least.
A
offensive.
bit offensive.
Well,
Jesus.
This is not, by the way, this is not, you can never do this segment today.
No.
You could not have done this segment in 2000, but they did anyway. Al Snow is at WWF New York.
Make my reservation now.
He's randomly got head back with him.
I'm just going to move on. So we get to the limo. Hunter gets out. He's hanging his head and he's sulking. And Angle gets out. He's hanging his head and he's sulking. And then out comes Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Dad.
I love this because Vince does his dad promo. I hope I made myself clear. If either of you ever traumatize Steph ever again, neither of you will even want to be in the WWF,
My
much less
baby
the
girl.
champion.
If my baby girl ever calls me crying on the phone again.
He says, I wish you luck, and look out for my son Shane as well. I'm like, fuck off about Shane. But anyway, it's just funny because they're doing this thing, and Hunter the whole time is just glaring at Vince. But Kurt the whole time is looking at Vince, then he'll look at Hunter. See what he's thinking. Then he'll look at Vince. What's Hunter thinking? Just keeps looking back and forth.
Yes.
Like the little kid where two kids are in trouble and one kid wants to know how bad it is, so he's like looking at the other kid. Is this kid crying yet?
Are you practicing for this? The Dudleys go for a walk. And then Dwayne Johnson, a professional wrestler known as The Rock. You may have forgotten, he was employed.
That's right.
Yeah.
WWF in the year 2000. He had, in fact, was their world champion. But it would be easy to forget that watching the show. He's such a minor character at this point.
And then he comes out and you're reminded, oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Shane versus Rock and the Dudleys. This match was so awesome.
Well, we are firmly in the era where it is impossible to have a 6-man on Raw
Yes.
and not have it be awesome.
Absolutely.
We're out of that era now, by the way.
Okay, that
but
sucks.
we were in the era then.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes.
But Rock is great, Hunter is great, Kurt is great, Bubba is great, Devon's very good, and Shane McMahon of the year 2000 was merely below average. He's fallen off a cliff in the ensuing 2 decades.
Devon and Triple H started out the match. It was so weird watching Hunter wrestle Devon.
And Bubba, actually. It's both very weird.
It was good.
It's great. But yes, it's not a match that happened very often. So, Rock gets the hot tag, of course, and he's destroying Hunter, and he's destroying Kurt. And at one point, he does some sort of move, and in not so much selling the move, but selling his power in delivering the move, he's walking backwards to maintain his own balance, but it's a disguise, so he can sneak up on Shane and grab him and yank him into the ring. Place just goes white hot. It's just A+ stuff. And finally, they go to get tables, but Edge and Christian attack and lay the Dudleys out. And now The Rock is left alone in the ring. He is triple teamed. They angle slam him, they pedigree him, and Shane raises the 2 heels' arms, and the music plays, and there's no finish to the match. Which was annoying.
You don't say. Was there a finish to any match on this goddamn show?
Very few.
Let's find out.
All right. This was a great show, despite the non-finish in the main event.
Yep.
And by the way, a non-finish is worse than a DQ. At least a DQ, there's something that happened there's something to end it.
Yeah, they just play music.
This is just music. The finishes on this show were pin after kendo stick shot, pin after outside interference that actually made the match fair, DQ due to interference, clean submission, dogpile pin in a 2-on-1 handicap match, DQ due to interference, and no finish in the main event.
Man, what a show.
Says the only clean finish in the entire show is Taz beating Crash. But Monday Night Raw, WWF Monday Night Raw, August 21st of the year 2000.
A non-aggravating show.
Pretty much, yeah.
Except for the fucking finishes.
Well,
They were bad.
When we got down to the semi-main event or whatever on the show, and there was another fucking DQ, it was like, how were people watching this? Like, the stuff with Kurt Angle and Triple H and Stephanie was good, and it's the go-home show for SummerSlam, and you had The Rock, but fuck. There were so many shitty DQs on this show.
There's a million of them.
Was there one clean finish? Clean.
You want me to spoil
I'm not
it?
talking
Check?
the main event. Just like a cursory glance.
Appears I have one clean pin on this note.
Okay, one clean pin.
We'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, of course there was. Triple H won with his move. Okay, take it out.
That wasn't it.
What?
I don't think. Oh, the Acolytes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Okay, so subtracting Hunter winning clean with his fucking move,
I'm pretty sure
were
that
there
was
any
it.
clean wins on this show?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Let's get going.
So on SmackDown, the bad guys had to pick somebody to face The Rock. Shane picked Hunter. This made Angle angry, so he left. But then he came back at the end to help Hunter win, and now all the bad guys are friends. Show begins. Jim Ross can't help but note Jerry Lawler is oddly late. I'm sure he'll be here soon. Rock comes out for a promo. So it's Jim Ross alone on commentary. And this is not his fault. He's just doing what he's told. But this is something that drives me nuts. It's all over Raw then. It's all over Raw now. It's all over Nitro here. There'd be a guy in the ring cutting a promo. And eventually, being a human being, he'll have to stop to inhale. And when he stops to inhale, the announcer must say something. You can't have a second of silence or introspective thought. Just there has to be noise going on at all times. So Rock is talking. They're in Louisiana, and he's talking about taking his boot and putting gumbo on it and putting hot sauce on it. And he stops to breathe, and Jim Ross has to shout, "What's he gonna do with that boot?" We'll find out, Jim. It's not that important. Shut up. So Rock wants payback tonight. Foley comes out. Do we need to go into detail this 20-minute promo?
No.
This is a 20-minute promo.
Well, Angle and Shane come out, and I lost interest. And then
I feel better.
Hunter came out. I did get in part of this that we found out that you'll never guess. Hunter beat Rock on SmackDown.
He did, yes.
Wow, this is amazing how that happens. So Hunter comes out and Angle's out there, and they're talking about being on the same page. And Hunter wants to beat Rock's ass for the title tonight. And Foley says The Rock has the night off. The same Rock that referees the main event. It's not much of a night off.
Well, it's not much of a night off. He's already flown to the building.
Hunter and Kurt are good friends. They're going to face the Acolytes tonight. Steve Blackman will face Shane McMahon for the Hardcore title. And Stephanie, this is the best part. He says Stephanie will face, and Stephanie's just dying to talk.
Of course.
And so she starts to talk, but then he keeps talking. It's not her turn yet. But she's so desperate to talk that finally he just shuts up and lets Vince McMahon's daughter talk. She proceeds to plug her match with Lita that he had not had a chance to announce yet.
He had not, in their defense, the match was announced on Heat.
Well, yeah, but he's in the middle of trying to tell this crowd
Yes.
and this audience what the match is.
That is correct.
And she jumps the gun, cuts her promo, and then he adds that Rock will be the special guest referee tonight.
They also announced all the matches at the beginning of the show, which is weird why Rock came out here and announced all of them again. Or Foley, excuse me.
Yeah, it is one of those weird things. So Taz arrives at the building. He punks out a security guy. He starts walking down the hallway, and there's a suspiciously very wide shot of all this.
Hey, I'm glad that we found out who tried to kill Roman Reigns.
Apparently it was Jerry the King
exact
Lawler,
same fucking thing.
who knocked a bunch of
Shit.
cardboard boxes full of empty soda cans.
Yeah.
He knocked them off a high thing onto Taz.
Yep.
And then jumped down to beat him up.
Yeah, King drops from the ceiling like he's Spider-Man after knocking all these boxes.
Too soon, Brian. It's too soon.
And at least we know tried to kill Roman. That's all I got out of this.
It's a trap.
It wasn't Rowan.
No, it was Jerry the King
It
Lawler.
was Jerry the King Lawler. He is a shit dropper.
Excuse me.
Now you say that. Do you say that he likes to drop shit on people?
Yes.
Or that he's bad at it? He's a shit dropper.
No, he drops shit on people.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotta clarify that. Because
Jerry the King Lawler.
Roman's alive and Taz seems fine
Rowan's
here.
a different kind of shit dropper.
Yeah. So Lawler comes out and makes his entrance down to ringside. And as he sits down, he says, I can't wait for Taz to get out here. And Ross says, well, Foley's ordered Taz to leave.
You know what's also funny is 19 years ago this week, Lawler is late, and then he drops some shit on some guy, and then he comes out for his job. 19 years later, Lawler randomly is on the show doing commentary, but then he leaves and shit gets dropped on him,
Aha.
and he's taken away.
It's true.
Karma.
It's weird, yeah. He got his by the Fiend.
19 years later.
So last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, Taz picked a fight with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. And so Foley responded by banning Lawler from the building, even though Taz picked the fight.
Yeah.
This week, Jerry Lawler dropped shit on Taz, and so Foley orders Taz to leave.
Well, he's consistent.
He blames victims.
Yeah.
Hardys versus the Dudley Boys.
Well, at least this week he got rid of the guy and there were no further problems. Last week he got rid of the guy and there were further problems.
So Hardys versus Dudleys, Edge and Christian on commentary. A bunch of shit happens. They promise a swerve, and the swerve is that they're going to do a run-in after all. And sure enough, Edge spears Matt. The Dudleys hit Jeff with a 3D, but then Edge hits a chair shot on Bubba, and Jeff wins.
This chair shot was fucking brutal.
There are a lot of very violent chair shots in this show.
I was so sick of these fucking chair shots in this segment here. And then later, we got this times 3.
Yeah.
You know how many concussions there probably were on this show alone?
4 or 5.
And keep in mind, by the way, they later hit Rikishi with 3 of the hardest fucking chair shots I ever saw, swung by a big, strong motherfucker named Kane, which was to set up Rikishi having a match at SummerSlam in 6 days.
Yes.
He almost assuredly had a concussion. I can't imagine him not having a concussion. But hey, dude, SummerSlam is in 6 days. We need to do this to set up this match. It's fucking insane.
Well, it is. It is. Trish demands that Val explain why they have a match tonight. And Val says, well, we have a mixed tag at SummerSlam. You're new at wrestling. You need experience.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
That makes sense.
Totally makes
This
sense.
is a logical thing on the show. The faction has a meeting, Everyone feels their match is the most important, and they all go talk amongst themselves. The Lugs boot of the week is China powerbombing Val Venus on the floor, and then Trish breaking a pitcher over China's head.
At least they have a different spot every week for
They
this
do.
thing.
It's actually worth noting here, instead of being the Road Warriors every single week. Val Venus and Trish Stratus versus Crash and Ivory. Eddie and China are backstage. Eddie's begging China to wait until SummerSlam to go do anything. So when Val and Crash were in this match, it was really good. They were in the match all the time. Trish takes one body slam from Ivory, but then Val hits Ivory with the Blue Thunder Bomb, and Trish gets the pin. China runs out. She sends Val packing. She goes to powerbomb Trish, but Val makes a save, and Eddie saves her.
So, Trish was green as grass, and a lot of her stuff looked like shit. But you could tell watching this match that if she trained and practiced, she would be very good.
She was very athletic.
It's very different than, like in the main event when Stephanie wrestled. Oof. Stephanie and Trish were both very green. Stephanie was somehow 10 times worse than Trish, and one of them ended up being really good, and one of them pretty much always kind of sucked. So I could see that Trish had potential. I was right 19 years ago.
Way to go.
I was right looking back 19 years.
Well done, Nostradamus.
Yes, thank you.
China demands a match with Trish from Commissioner Foley. Foley says they will have to wait until SummerSlam, but to make them happy, if either Eddie Guerrero or China can pin either Trish or Val in this mixed tag, they will win Val's Intercontinental title.
So dumb.
That's dumb. Kane versus Rikishi. Kane is here to explain why he chokeslammed The Undertaker. Well, because he's a monster. That's his explanation. And then a SmackDown, Taker goes to confront Kane. Kane backs away, then beats him up because Taker is dumb. And then this match goes a minute, and Kane grabs a steel chair and hits Rikishi in the head very, very hard with it for the DQ.
Oh, fuck. He hits this guy as hard as he can. Then the guy gets up, he hits him as hard as he fucking can. Then the guy gets up, and he hits him as hard as he fucking can. Then Too Cool runs in, and he hits both of them as hard as he fucking can. And I'm just watching this thing going, I realize that there's this weird bullshit statute of limitations as it pertains to concussions, which is like the fucking dumbest thing in the world, because it takes years for the effects to show up. Like, how can you say, well, you know, this guy's got serious brain damage, but the chair shots were 25 years ago, so statute of limit. It's stupid, okay? With all that said, like, if I were WWE, I would get this shit off the network ASAP.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Like, Jesus God almighty, these chair shots to the head.
This chair was completely folded like a taco.
Ruined.
Yes. The bad thing is, and don't get me wrong, getting hit with a chair sucks, especially in the head. He hit him with the top part of the chair, where the metal folds over. He hit him with the back of the seat. I mean,
it was the worst possible way to get hit in the head with a chair.
Hitting him square would be one thing. Hitting him on the edge of the chair, another thing completely.
Yeah, I don't know what
the chair was just completely folded.
I don't know what the hell happened here. It was no good. APA goes for a walk, and then Hunter and Kurt go for a walk. Then we get Triple H and Kurt Angle versus the Acolytes. It's the go-home show for SummerSlam, and Triple H is gigantic.
Yep.
Rock and Foley are watching backstage.
You know what's weird about this match? And later on when we had the Edge and Christian versus DX match. So you have all these bullshit matches on this show, and like, people are just going crazy for all of this crazy stuff. Like Val Venus and Trish versus Crash and Ivory, there's like tons of heat. You bring out Triple H and Kurt Angle, who are in the main event at SummerSlam versus The fucking Rock. They're out here and it's crickets.
Well,
nobody gives a shit about these two guys working together in a match 6 days before SummerSlam.
I thought this match was really good.
This was a very good match that had no heat. Those statements are both accurate. Now, Brian, the reason there was no heat, I think, is that first of all, the whole crowd's been conditioned to anticipate a fight between Triple H and Kurt Angle, not a team. That's problem one. Problem two, let's watch JBL play Giant Texan in Peril.
Well, they did that.
It's hard. He did not draw sympathy from these fans.
Yes, but no. I mean, he would get hit with a move, and then 2 seconds later, he was back up throwing a clothesline.
Oh, that didn't help.
Kurt Angle and Farouk at the hot tag, and there's a spot where Farouk goes to whip Angle corner to corner.
Yes.
Hunter. And Hunter starts running, and at the halfway mark, he's like one of those UFOs where they just veer off the wrong way, like what an airplane shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
That's what Triple H does. He starts running, and then he veers off and hits the ropes. And now, like, Farouk clearly had one idea because he whipped him corner to corner.
Sure.
Hunter clearly thought that Farouk messed up, so Hunter tries to correct the move, but Farouk is still thinking of whatever move he had planned.
Yeah.
So they end up just running at each other, and it's like a collision in midair. It turns into a pounce. Fucking Hunter just goes flying because it's Farouk, and he ain't fucking moving. It was the funniest, wackiest spot.
I think Kurt was actually in the corner, and that's why Triple H adjusted.
That's possible. All I know is Hunter got whipped out of the corner, made a hard left turn and hit the ropes.
I think Kurt was in the other corner. I don't think he was in the corner that Hunter was running towards.
Hunter makes
Because then I would have thought, like, well, what was the plan?
Okay.
But there was nobody there.
Sure.
Hunter makes a hard left turn and hits the ropes, comes off the ropes, makes a hard right turn, and comes back to Farouk.
Yep.
It was wacky. And yes, as Brian noted, Hunter hit the pedigree and won.
I can't believe it.
So afterwards, Hunter leaves. Kurt goes to celebrate his big win. The Acolytes see Kurt in the ring and they kill him. Hunter sees this, contemplates making the save, but it's the Acolytes and they're big and scary, and so he leaves. Go to the break. When we come back, Hunter is telling Stephanie that step 1 is done. Now they can worry about her match with Lita. Kurt walks in. He, of course, is pissed off. I saved you on SmackDown. Where were you to save me? Hunter says, quit being selfish. It's time to focus on Steph. And Kurt, for the first time in this entire storyline, is caught. And he knows that he has to be focused on Steph. So he stutters and stammers and finally agrees to be a team player.
What a guilt trip by Triple H. We should show Granny this segment, see what she thinks. By the way,
let her give it a star rating.
I'm trying to get Paisley to try and eat something because she has a very plain palate.
I wonder where she gets that.
So I decided there's no kid that doesn't like chicken nuggets.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's impossible, but she doesn't. So I decided today I was going to take her to Wendy's and see if I could get her to eat some chicken nuggets. And I walk in, and I happen to be wearing Granny's fucking shirt.
Oh, how about that?
Boy, these people at the front counter. They had a fucking field day
You
with
don't
this
say.
thing. Yeah. So I learned my lesson.
By the way, there's a Chick-fil-A in the parking lot next to that.
It's cross street. Yeah, I could have tried that.
So did she eat the nuggets or not?
She ate a couple bites of the nuggets.
Wendy's has really good barbecue sauce.
Oh, dude, let's one thing at a time, you fucking idiot. Are you kidding me? Clearly, you do not have a child.
I do not.
No, you don't just throw on barbecue sauce on something.
If you ever tried to buy my wife dinner, it's pretty,
Exactly.
it's very similar.
Thank you. Now you understand.
Bridget kind of has a child too, so.
Yeah. RTC comes out for a promo. They will continue to fight anyone who offends morality, including Rikishi. His appearance was offensive and set a bad example.
This guy got laid out 2 segments ago.
Yeah.
And now they're burying him for...
They ran out in all that melee, so they were on
That's
TV
true.
when it happened.
Okay.
So Foley comes out, takes a long time to make a shrimp and ain't easy joke. He says RTC makes this show less fun. So first he says, I'm going to book you in a match against Too Cool and Rikishi for SummerSlam. And he implies, because he must do this every week, I guess, he implies it's going to be 2-on-3 advantage babyfaces. Steven Richards is fine with this. His men will overcome the odds and find victory. Then Foley makes it a fair fight by adding Steven to the match, and now Steven's appalled. All right. Foley essentially promises if you buy this pay-per-view, you will see Stevie take a stink face. Shane meets with the Mean Street Posse, who are still around. He convinces them basically to try to attack Blackman, and they can be hardcore champion. So they attack him, and Blackman kicks their ass, and then the last thing we see is Shane running out the door and Blackman running after him. Mm-hmm. Keep that in mind. Kurt's leaving the building again. Steph comes up, begs him to stay. He says, look, it's clear I'm not wanted. I won't stay where I'm not wanted. To which Steph says, Kurt, you are wanted. I need you there. Will you please stay and be my friend? And Kurt stops. He says, I'd love to stay. And he goes to be her friend. Chris Jericho versus Saturn for the European title, which still exists for some reason. They do the last 2 minutes of a 20-minute main event, and then Benoit runs in for the DQ, and the brawl...
Fucking DQs.
The brawl lasted much longer than the match did, and led to nothing.
They also noted, they made a note that Terry was not with Saturn this evening. Where is she?
Somewhere in here they found time to point this out. Trish is like in catering or something when Shane just walks up to her. Where did Blackman go? Did he outrun Steve Blackman to the point Blackman gave up and went home? So Shane says he has a question for Trish in private. Hunter and Kurt are trying to train Steph. They're arguing about how to do a full Nelson. And finally Steph pleads with Hunter to let Kurt contribute. This is a good way to make him feel like a part of everything, she says. And Hunter relents. He says, fine, but I'll be right over there behind that door.
Well, the big thing is Hunter's trying to show Steph a full Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
And Angle says that's not how you apply a full Nelson, which is funny because Hunter is showing him how to apply a pro wrestling full Nelson so you don't hurt somebody.
Yeah.
But Kurt wants to show her a shoot full Nelson where you fucking tear their head off.
Yes.
So that was funny in itself. And then finally, after Hunter says he'll walk over there, Kurt says, I'm going to show her some stuff that works, the real stuff. To which Hunter says, I'll show you some real stuff later. It's like, clearly somebody has been watching Nitro because this real stuff bullshit was ripping off Nitro. And then later, Shane McMahon is Norman Smiley. But they're doing it right.
Okay.
They do better.
Yes.
So I just like when Hunter says, I'll be right over there behind that door. And Kurt just says, why? Made me laugh.
Why can't he be in the room?
That's true.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're going to show her holds, I better not be in this room. I must leave you two alone to work on these holds. It needs to be a private lesson.
I don't have an
not
answer.
Not a class.
I don't have an answer. So Blackman's leaving. He's leaving the building when Test attacks him.
He was actually going to the ring, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think so.
Had like a bag over his shoulder. I assumed he was going home.
He's probably got his gimmicks for a hardcore
got his
match.
Weapons in there.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Regardless,
sticks.
Test attacks him. They have a fight. Albert joins in. Edge and Christian join in.
Okay, hold on. We got to talk about some spots. This was your normal bullshit hardcore match, but they had a few cool things. At one point, Albert runs in, and him and Test are double-teaming Blackman. And Albert goes, get that fire extinguisher.
Yes.
So Test gets the fire extinguisher, and Albert goes, spray him. And so it's one of those things like if you're coaching jiu-jitsu, by the way, like if you yell something, the other guy can hear you.
Sure.
That's what happened here.
So don't spoil the fire extinguisher.
Albert tells him to
class.
spray the guy, but Blackman's fucking right there, so Blackman hears it. So he kicks the fire extinguisher, and so Test sprays Albert.
Yes.
Then Blackman grabs his fucking sticks.
Scream of sticks.
And goddamn, if there's one thing about Steve Blackman, he can use them sticks.
He got these sticks over.
He beats the shit out of both these guys with the sticks. Then Edge and Christian hit the ring and they briefly overwhelm him, but then he beats the shit out of them with his sticks. 4 men he's beaten up with the sticks. And finally Shane runs in with a bigger stick. That's what happened.
That is true.
And he whacks Blackman with a big stick. He spoke softly and carried a very big stick. And he knocks a dude out and he wins the hardcore title, which it turns out he doesn't want.
So yes, that was that. And then after commercial, in the next segment, Shane and Edge and Christian are hanging out. When did Shane and Edge and Christian become friends, by the way?
Who fucking knows? SmackDown, probably.
Maybe. So Foley comes, they're celebrating the big win, the 3 of them. Foley comes up to the 3 of them. He congratulates Shane on his championship win and then announces he's going to give Blackman a rematch at SummerSlam. Shane becomes, as you noted, Brian, he does this right. He doesn't want to face Steve Blackman in a hardcore fight. So to get out of this fight with Blackman, he must drop this hardcore title. So he drops to his back and screams, pin me! Because when you want to lose a match, it's really easy to do.
Yeah, somewhere before the melee started, they announced that the 24/7 rule was back in play.
Was it
right
gone?
Before, yeah, it was right before Test attacked.
Right. I didn't know it was gone. Regardless, Edge and Christian here, one of them makes a cover, and then Foley announces he is waiving the 24/7 rule until after SummerSlam.
Right.
And as for Edge and Christian, since they're so eager to have a match, they can face DX tonight. The Cat arrives. at WWF New York.
Not Chat.
Right.
No, the cute one. And we see a clip from SmackDown of the Cat asking Rikishi to give Terry a stink face. This sets up the stink face match between those two women at SummerSlam. So now Kurt is showing Steph how to do a guillotine. Classic Olympic wrestling move, the guillotine choke. And they're talking about all these holds and how they work, and he says, "You're going to be Stephanie McMahon, women's champion." And she corrects him. It's Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. It's a very long name, she says. But Kurt acknowledges, yes, it is Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. Now let's work on that go behind. This is Hunter's cue, because he knows the trouble he got into for this. He comes in, he's outraged, he pulls Steph away.
Dude, this was nothing like the go behind he was showing Trish.
No.
He fucking was lifting her up to give her a German suplex.
Yes. Hunter was doing a hammerlock, actually, on Trish. The Cat is plugging her TV guide cover when Terry attacks her and rubs her ass in her face.
Oh, great.
Knocked her wig off.
Did knock her wig off. Edge and Christian versus DX.
Another match, big stars, no heat.
Well, all heels, too.
I guess it's all
That's
heels.
true.
It's
It is hard to tell with DX. They were kind of the baby
hard to
faces
tell
for
with
a while.
half these people.
Oh, that's true. So, let's see. The Dudleys run out with a table. They attack for the DQ. Somewhere in here, it's announced that it's Road Dogg versus X-Pac at SummerSlam.
Yes.
All right.
Remember last week?
And they've been doing the friendly rivalry thing for a while.
Last week, X-Pac was snickering because Road Dogg was getting the stink face.
Yes.
And they've been back and forth with each other with trading wins and all that.
You would think they just it would take 30 seconds to say, enough of this, I just challenge you to a fight.
Now, that would have been better.
Yeah. Rather than have the announcers mention it like under their breath while 500 things are going on. So the Dudleys set up a table, but then they just brawl with Edge and Christian out of scene. And then it's a DQ for the Dudley attack. Mm-hmm. X-Pac and Road Dogg are arguing. Road Dogg's in the apron. Pac gives him a headbutt, but not like a I'm going to knock you out headbutt, just I'm trying to pick a fight headbutt. And it results in Road Dogg falling off the apron through the table. And Pac is embarrassed with himself for doing this to his friend.
He cannot believe what he's done.
All I can think is, well, you're lucky that table was there then.
And
it would have been a lot worse.
What was he expecting? You hit but a guy.
I don't know. The WWF burn of the week is Steph attacking Lita on Heat. And your main event, Lita versus Stephanie McMahon Helmsley with Rock as special ref.
Can we have more shenanigans in this fucking match?
There was a bazillion things happening.
Oh my
Now listen.
God. Stephanie. I must talk about Stephanie.
All right.
Atrocious. Like, appalling in the ring. She threw the funniest, most horrendous forearms I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Vinny's like, he can't even understand what I'm talking about here.
Are you sure you don't mean Lita?
No, Stephanie was throwing forearms.
Hers were bad too.
They were appalling.
Lita's were worse.
No.
Yes. Go back and watch when Lita, this very first spot is Lita gets the mount and she takes her elbow here and time passes and it drops like falling snow.
I'll bet you, literally, I swear to God, $50. You were not paying attention.
Oh, I was.
There's no way you were paying attention to Stephanie's forearms if you're telling me that Lita's are worse.
I wrote here, Steph has better strikes than Lita. Oh, that's what I wrote.
Maybe she had a better kick here and there.
I mean, you're fighting.
These forearms, I can't even believe that I saw them.
I'm going to load this up right now.
Load it up right now. Everything she did looked like she was doing gymnastics, but she's not a gymnast.
No.
So we got a person who's not a gymnast doing gymnastics, dancing around here. Stomps were bad.
Hey, continue watching.
Lita looked terrible.
That's from August 7th.
They were both green as grass. It was so bad. Mm-hmm. The guys are outside like fighting. There's Angle and Hunter fighting with the Hardys. Rock's in the ring. It was just so much bullshit.
Yes.
There's a bazillion things going on.
Vince Russo could have booked this easily.
So I can't find this stupid episode.
Hunter jumps Rock from behind. Angle takes out Hunter. Rock gives Kurt the rock bottom. Just a bunch of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Steph tries to hit Rock with the belt. That didn't work.
No.
He gives her the easiest spine buster in history, tells Lita to go upstairs. Lita goes up top, hits the moonsault, and Rock counts the pin.
She won the title that way.
You did a fine recap, Brian, of
Place went nuts. Lita's the new women's champion.
Place did go nuts. It's important to note for all that garbage, it worked.
Ross is going nuts that Lita has done it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, she didn't. She didn't do shit.
She had some help.
But yes, she is the champion right now. And that was your main event right there. That was your go-home angle for the SummerSlam.
And the minor leaguers, which is the Hardys and the new champion Lita, they immediately disappear. So the main eventers can stick around the ring for the reaction shots.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Well, Brian, while this is loading, do you have my music ready?
Oh my God! How long does this take?
I got the match now. I found it. The finishes on this show were pin after interference with a chair, clean pin in an intergender match, DQ due to chair shot, clean pin, DQ due to interference, pin in a 5-on-1 handicap hardcore match, DQ due to interference, pin in a title match with a ridiculous amount of shenanigans involving 4 outside parties and a referee who got physically involved. All right, Lita's hitting a double leg. She has a spear. Oh my God, look at these elbows.
Oh,
Dude.
Vinny, you're
They're
watching
horrible.
the wrong thing. Wait till Stephanie gets up and starts throwing some.
My point was that Lita's elbows were the worst, so therefore I must watch Lita's elbows. She got them in the corner. They're awful. Her actual wrestling is a million times better, but her elbows suck. So I'm going to watch this until Stephanie throws an elbow, and then I will confirm whether hers are better or worse than Lita's.
Good thing this wasn't a 15-minute main event, everybody.
Tell you.
Okay, Steph just hit a boot. She's on offense now. She's looking for what to do.
How you doing,
She's
bro?
running. She's taking a hip toss.
Good.
Oh, great bump for that hip toss.
It was very first day of wrestling school, yes.
First fucking day.
She did manage to take Irana and not die. That's a good thing. Okay. Are you sure she threw an elbow in this match?
Oh, I'm positive.
Because so far she hasn't.
Well, just
looking-
wait. She's throwing forearm shivers, as they call it.
Kurt taking Rock taking a swipe at
Should I
Kurt.
recreate them right now?
Yeah, do for it. That's not very good. If they're that bad, Brian, they're almost as bad as Lita's.
I did better.
You may have.
I couldn't do as badly as she did.
Here's the Hardys having a big giant brawl at
Oh,
ringside.
Christ, these fucking Hardys.
Okay, we only got 4 minutes of show left. She must throw an elbow here soon.
There's going to be a forearm that you won't even believe. And then you're going to deny it, of course. You'll say, oh, well, that's bad, but Lita's were much worse.
I would never do such a thing.
I'm trusting you, Vinny.
Okay, Lita's charging in the corner. Stephanie dodges.
Okay, here we go. Watch him.
Steph's pushing her in the corner. She's throwing
Ready?
the boots. She's kicking her in the boobs.
Here we go.
Right in the boobs. Okay, that's a pretty...
What did I tell you? What did I fucking
all
tell
right.
you?
Here's what I will say about this.
Thank you.
Having reviewed this, here's what I will say. Lita's were worse, but Steph's were funnier.
Okay. How could they be funnier but not worse?
Because Steph's were faster.
Oh, fuck, dude. Get out of here. All right.
WWF Monday Night Raw, August 28th of the year 2000.
What are you doing? It's 2001.
I'll say it's the year 2001.
It's not going to roll off the tongue the same, Vinny.
It's not. That's why I cherish it every time I get to say it
I
twice a
see.
week.
Wow.
For 5 more months now. No, 4 more months.
You cherish this.
Yes. Few joys I have in life, Brian, like saying the year 2000.
Vinny,
You're a simple man, Vince.
I am.
I just think about having like a few joys in life, and one of them is to say the year 2000.
Few things make
when
me
you
happier
review Retro Raw Nitro.
Saying it as dramatically as possible. August 28th of the year 2000.
Wow.
Is this high on the list or is it near the bottom?
I need to talk to your wife.
Well, she's higher.
I should hope so.
Wait a second. Your wife, Bridget, is higher on your list of small happiness and joys in life than saying the year 2000?
Yes, as it should be.
Wow.
She makes me happier than saying the year 2000.
Wow.
You know what?
Man, that's heartwarming.
I hate to drag the show off the track, but your wife is a fun, drunk woman.
I know.
Yeah.
And a fine baker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely a fine baker.
So anyway, WWF Monday Night Raw. As I said, August 28th of the year 2000.
We were at the Super J Cup, and
Yes.
we're watching the show, and Horseman is there, and Bridget must have gone to get more alcohol.
Possibly.
I guess she hadn't bought all of it yet.
There was some left, yeah.
So she walks back, and Horseman turns and sees her and says, "It had been awfully quiet around here." That's what he said to her. She laughed.
Of course she did.
All right, let's do this. The year 2000. Raw.
So it's the day after SummerSlam, and immediately Michael Cole goes running to a backstage penalty box where Mick Foley has set up his office. Mick Foley has to cut a 2-minute promo in about 20 seconds. He says there are 4 title matches tonight. He announces 100 matches, way too fast to write down, except I did note the main event will be Rock. 24 hours after the 3-way against Kurt Angle and Hunter, he has to defend his title again against Kane.
Why?
Don't know.
Okay.
Hunter is waiting anxiously for Stephanie to arrive. And it is explained, if not here, then throughout the show. Hunter, during the main event, accidentally punched Stephanie, and she was taken to a medical facility.
Right.
And he has not seen her
Well,
since.
she was carried to the back by Kurt Angle at the end of the match.
He hadn't actually seen her since Kurt walked off with her.
Apparently, he had carried her to a local medical facility.
I see.
So, SummerSlam the night before, just very quickly, everybody. X-Pac beat Road Dogg. Eddie and Chyna beat Trish and Val Venus. Jerry Lawler beat Taz. Glad that ended that fucking feud.
Oh, did it?
Steve Blackman beat Shane McMahon when Shane fell off that big thing.
Right.
Remember that famous shot of him falling off that thing? I know he does it in every match now, but it was famous then. Benoit beat Jericho 2-1, cheating. Edge and Christian beat the Dudleys and the Hardys TLC match. Kat beat Terry. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That went 3 minutes.
Wow.
Kane and Undertaker went to a no contest in a no disqualification match.
Excellent.
Wow. write
That is
down.
what
That's-
led somehow to Kane getting a match against The Rock tonight.
That's actually better than I thought, because I thought he got counted out.
No, no contest.
Well, at least it's a no contest then. So
in
you
a
had to
no DQ match.
flip a coin between the two of them, and Kane won the coin toss. All
And
right.
The Rock beat Triple H and Kurt Angle. The famous match where Triple H went to give Kurt a pedigree,
Right.
but the table broke early. Kurt Angle suffered a massive concussion, and they sent his ass back out there again.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Chris Jericho and the Acolytes versus Chris Benoit and TNA. So during this match, and the heat's on Farouk, and he's crawling for the hot tag, and he tags Bradshaw, but I think he was supposed to tag Jericho, because no one really knows what to do for a second. And finally, Bradshaw comes in, and then Jericho steps in the ring, and then tags himself in with Bradshaw. They're both in the ring. And a bunch of stuff happens, and Jericho pins Albert with a cabrata.
All I know is that they got the heat on Bradshaw, of all people.
Yeah.
And Jericho made the comeback, and they did their finish. And I wonder if everybody worked harder whenever Trish was out there watching them. I presume yes.
Possible.
I don't know that, but that would be my speculation.
X-Pac goes to check with Hunter, see how he's doing. Hunter explains the situation. He's convinced Angle's got something to do with it. And Pac says, "Don't worry, man. Last time I saw Steph, she was in good hands." Hunter says, "This is not funny." And he berates X-Pac, and Pac's like, "I thought we were friends." Craig.
I had to cough. I'm sorry.
That is an awkward
Do you need
moment.
a water or something? Hey, what are those?
I told you my wife is an excellent baker.
Oh,
Chocolate chip peanut butter cookies.
wow. Why are they just sitting there?
You want me to pass them over in the middle of the
No,
show?
I'm not going to eat them. I just want to know,
That's why they're there.
are they for my child?
They're for anyone who wants them.
Okay.
I'm guessing he brings them here so he doesn't eat them at home.
That's part of it.
I took the whole kit and caboodle to work when she made some for me.
Yes. So after the break, now Road Dogg is there trying to console Hunter. And
Now,
he's-
Road Dogg is a married man.
by his own words here, "I'm a married man.
Yes.
I feel your plight."
Plight.
That's the funniest thing Road Dogg's ever said.
Plight.
I feel your plight. But he's got a match. He's got to go. Hunter says, "All right, I'll wait here." But then Kurt Angle's music plays, and Hunter storms into the building. Angle comes out for his promo. Says, "I suffered a horrible concussion. It's true."
Hey, it was true.
It was true.
This guy suffered a legitimate horrible concussion, and they drag him out the next night. And it's one thing to come out and do a promo, and he did a promo, and it was okay. He stumbled over his words a couple of times. It was not perfect. He largely remembered everything. He talked about this and that, and the big claim by Kurt Angle is, well, I don't remember anything that happened after I went to that table.
Oh, that's good.
He's claiming he's innocent of doing anything with Stephanie.
Yes.
Doesn't remember carrying her to the back or anything like that. Hunter storms down to the ring, and they get in this big argument about where Stephanie is, and Kurt's being an asshole, and finally, they get into a physical altercation.
Yeah.
Hunter shoves Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle goes flying. He goes out of the ring and bumps on the floor.
Yeah.
He grabs his head.
Yeah.
And then all the geeks come down and they're pulling them apart. And I could not believe my eyes. Now, I know that the obvious excuse is, well, we didn't know anything about concussions. But as we're all well aware, that's absolute bullshit. And in fact, on the other channel, on the same night, there is an angle where Bret Hart attacks Bill Goldberg because Bill Goldberg ended his wrestling career by giving him a fucking concussion. So, less than a year ago, a guy got a serious concussion in a match, and he kept wrestling, and he was forced to retire.
Right.
These fucking people, Kurt Angle suffers a concussion in the middle of the match, but they have a story to tell. And so they throw his ass back out there. He goes back down to the ring and finishes the entire match. God only knows what damage he does to his head. And then they trot his ass out the next night, and he's fucking getting thrown out of the ring and bumping on the floor. How is this on the WWE Network? How? How is this not scrubbed from history, and they pay $500 per tape to anybody who has it on VHS? This is fucking madness.
Well, that's what happened. And Angle got shoved outside, and Geeks kept them separated, and that was that.
Angle was pretty great here. Triple H was accusing him of lying, and Angle just flabbergasted. I can't lie. I'm a gold medalist.
I like when Hunter said, "Don't get me wrong, Kurt, you play a great ignorant jackass, but I'm not buying it." So they cut backstage where who should be watching but Chyna and her boyfriend Eddie Guerrero. And Chyna admits, I kind of feel sorry for Hunter.
Are they trying to turn Triple H babyface?
Sort of.
Well,
They didn't.
we'll get to that.
Eddie is appalled that Chyna's concerned, says, we should be worried about your title defense. She's the Intercontinental Champion, by the way, because she pinned Trish to win Val Venus' Intercontinental title. You should be worried about defending the IC title against Val Venus. The WWF burn of the week is, in fact, Chyna pinning Trish to win Val's IC belt.
The burn of the week?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an athlete's foot or somebody was sponsored.
Sure, yeah.
Tenactin. Chyna versus Val Venus with Trish out late to watch. That's why I got confused there. Trish and Venus.
So what the fuck is going on with Trish and Val Venus?
What's going on with Val Venus? He was a porn star. Now he's just a guy. Losing to women.
They paired him up. They paired him up with a hot blonde and took away his libido.
Right.
So he is in the ring wrestling, and Eddie is there in Chyna's corner, and Trish is watching Val from the ramp.
Right.
But when she tries to get involved in any way, Val, who is about to win the match in the Intercontinental title, comes down off the top rope to go yell at Trish.
Yes.
And tell her to leave.
Right.
Which leads to him distracting himself and getting pinned by Chyna.
Yes.
I have no idea what's going on. It's not quite as bad as Russo's WCW.
No.
Because I think that there actually is a story here that I'm missing because of SmackDown or something like that. Whereas on Russo's show, it's just he does something crazy every week just for the fuck of it. But I have no idea what's going on here.
Maybe Val is thinking women are his downfall. That's why he quit porn. I don't know.
That does make sense, actually. All I know is Chyna looked like a geek because Val beat her up. Eddie looked like a geek because Val beat him up too.
And he's losing his girlfriend.
Trish looked like a geek because she distracted Val, and Val looked like a geek because he let himself get distracted.
That's a lot of geeks.
Everyone came out of this segment looking worse. Michael Cole goes to interview Angle, says he is skeptical that Kurt does not remember anything about last night. And Kurt says, you know what? I am starting to have some memories. I remember meeting Steph in a hotel lobby. No, it was a hotel room. It was 814. That was Steph's room.
Well, his actual train of thought is, I remember being in a lobby, and I remember that she was there, and I remember there was a room 814, which was my room. Wait a second. That was her room. Then he says, excuse me. He goes to leave.
Right.
Now, clearly he didn't leave because he came back later, but I don't think there was any further follow-up to the mystery of room 814.
Right to Censor comes out for a promo. I don't know if you mentioned this, Brian, but Stevie super kicked Scotty 2 Hotty and Right to Censor won at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Stevie is bragging about the win. The fans are booing them. He says the Constitution is archaic. Rikishi's ass and violence and scantily clad women are unacceptable. He goes
Is that
on-
all in the Constitution? I was unaware of that.
I'm not sure which amendment
It's at the end.
that covers, but scantily clad women fall under pursuit of happiness, I'm pretty sure. So he rambles on for a long ass time. It's Rikishi
Fucking
versus
forever.
Steven Richards. Mandy and Victoria, I don't know who Mandy is, but Victoria's Victoria.
Right.
They are accompanying Rikishi at this point. The match goes a minute. Rikishi's going to do the stink face. They pull Steven out of the ring, and they all leave.
I can't remember who Mandy is, but she had been signed to developmental, and I don't think they ever did anything with her. She's one of the mini hoes.
Right.
It could have become something, but didn't.
Yeah. One of my favorite things on Raw every week, Hunter's in his room. There's a knock on the door, and he says, "Come in," gruffly. It's China.
This was so fucking awkward.
You don't say.
So if you guys don't know the story, and I have no fucking idea how you wouldn't know this story. So Hunter and China were together,
What?
and they did a storyline where Hunter married Stephanie. Now, Hunter and China were still together
Yes.
when they did the storyline where Hunter married Stephanie. So one day, and actually I think it's further on down the line, I don't even think it's happened yet.
Yeah.
Really?
China's going through Hunter's bag,
Nope.
and she finds love letters from Stephanie.
Written.
And she's outraged, and she makes the major faux pas of going to Vince McMahon
Yeah.
and complaining that Hunter has cheated on her with Stephanie. Unbeknownst to her, Vince has given Hunter and Stephanie his blessing.
Yeah.
This was the beginning of the end of China. Yeah. So she goes in there, and this is what she says. Relationships are a tough thing, Hunter, and marriage is even harder.
How would she know?
Whatever you and Steph are going through, I'm sure that you can work it out. Trust, China says, is a big thing in a relationship. It means everything. And without it, you have nothing.
Sure she didn't find the letters earlier this day?
Look at me and Eddie, she says. We love each other, we support each other, and we trust each other. Just give your wife a chance. I was just watching this like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. A lot of young wrestlers today, because the business has changed to a degree, they don't remember any of this shit. They don't remember that you never do a storyline where you and your real life girlfriend break up.
Right.
And you never do a storyline where you get together with somebody else unless you're planning on really getting together with somebody else. Back then, that's just what happened all the time. And then it was actually funny because Eddie goes in and he shoves Hunter and flips out right after China says that trust is the most important thing in a relationship. That was funny.
Eddie's promo was the greatest thing on the show.
Is this the one where he curses at Hunter in Spanish and there's a pause and Hunter says, "Well, I don't know what you said."
Yes.
But
I don't understand a word you said, but your ass just wrote a check, or you just wrote a check your ass has to catch or whatever.
all I know is I was watching this and I realized on screen it was supposed to be Triple H in China, but all I could think was, this is Paul Levesque and Johnny Lauer.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And they are having issues.
Yes.
Edge and Christian come out for a promo. They put over the Hardys and Dudleys. We know the Dudleys aren't here. We want to shake the Hardys' hands. Matt and Jeff come on out. It is, of course, short people, little people dressed as the Hardys.
Oh, this died a death.
Yeah.
This died a death. It went on forever. They had a 30-second thing on the clock. It was like, did they slow that down by 2? It's like, I try to comb Paisley's hair every day because it's just a rat's nest. And she just freaks out. And so I have to talk her into, I'll do 10. But I have to go 1, 2. So it's actually 20, even though I'm counting to 10.
Good to teach your daughter not to trust you.
But just trust me. She doesn't understand this whole
That's the
accounting thing with the pause in the middle. But anyway,
Got to teach her math.
that's what this stupid thing was here. There's no way that 30-second clock was 30 seconds. It was like 2 hours.
All I know is Christian at one point said we could have had a great match with anyone. It could have been the Bushwhackers and Techno Team 2000.
I'd like to see that.
I guarantee they could have a good match with the Bushwhackers.
I want to see that bad now, and I know it never happens. That makes me sad. So anyway, there's also short guys dressed up as the Dudleys and a small table and a small ladder. They're doing all this stuff, and then finally the real Hardys interrupt, and they actually did some spots off the mini ladders, these step stools, and Edge and Christian eventually flee.
Brian, you always talk about young girls screaming.
Yeah.
The young girls screamed loud when
Yeah.
the Hardys came out.
The Hardys.
It was audible. It was obvious.
They do that a little bit for Edge and Christian, but not as much now that they're bad guys.
It's missing.
Yeah, no one screams for anybody nowadays.
That's true. Did you like the first 20 minutes of Raw last night when Sasha Banks was cutting this passionate promo?
And everyone chanted, what?
There were crickets before that.
Yeah, because it sucked. Because they've got problems.
Yeah, they do.
Kurt Angle tries to calm Eddie down backstage, and Kurt Angle says there's nothing lower than a man trying to sneak into another man's relationship.
It's great.
That was a great line. I wonder if Jeff Jarrett was listening to Kurt say that. Eddie should fight for her, he says. Go challenge Hunter. And Eddie agrees.
And by the way, he says, don't forget Hunter and China used to have a relationship.
He was sure to point that out, yeah. Steve Blackman versus Taz.
You know what? I actually really like this segment until I learned that they did the Taz Lawler match the night before with a finish.
Right.
And now it just keeps going.
Yes.
Comes out here, he yells at the announcers. They actually had a great spot there at the end, which was Taz grabs a trash can lid. He fucking waffles Lawler in the head with it. And Lawler, of course, is wearing a headset mic, so it sounds like 500 times louder than it was. And you just hear Lawler go, God damn it. And he stands up and he starts to beat the shit out of Taz. And then Ross gets up.
Yeah.
And he grabs a trash can lid. And he waffles Taz in the back of the head with it. And then Blackman flies out of nowhere with this flying kick on Taz and pins him.
Yes.
It was actually a great finish. But then Taz goes over and he's going after the announcers. And all the geeks had to come down. And I was like, I don't remember where this goes. But
No, we're good.
if this were real, this should go somewhere.
Sure.
Somebody should do something. This is out of control.
You're right. Somebody should do something.
Where does it go?
I have no
You don't
idea.
remember either?
Not a
I
clue.
remember.
Like I say, nowhere good.
Just
Just
to be a loser leaves town match is what I'm getting at. This promotion is not big enough for these three men.
I believe you'll find it actually is. In fact, they end up working together. Eventually.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fuck, now that's even more weird.
That's right.
I forgot about that. Yeah. They were commentators together.
Yes.
What a load of horse shit.
Well, sometimes friends fight. You know about that.
I've never hit anybody with a trash can lid.
Well, not yet.
That's a strong point.
We don't have a trash can in here. I mean, geez.
I got a trash can over there.
There's no lid.
Just Joe goes to interrupt Hunter, and Hunter's like, no, someone's already knocked on my door this week. And he chases him away. And then Eddie comes in. Here's the bit where Eddie was cursing in Spanish.
Oh, yeah,
but he says
right.
he's
Yes.
talked to Foley. He's gotten the match booked. It's him and Hunter tonight.
And yes, he freaks out. Hunter says, I don't know what you just said, but you wrote a check your ass can't catch. That was the line.
Yep.
And then Eddie says, I'll cash that check. That was great.
Yeah.
Eddie's great and Hunter's great. The WWF boot of the week is Lita interfering in the TLC match.
Not using a boot.
I don't think boots were used. Lita versus Jacqueline. Jacqueline takes the entire match. Nobody thinks she's going to win, so it's boring.
Yeah, but you know what? Jackie is great
Yeah.
because this match was okay, and Lita is green as grass.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Everybody loves her. She made a simple comeback, hit the moonsault, got the pin. The place goes crazy. She was absolutely perfect for this era. Then Edge and Christian run down. The cameraman takes a bump because either Matt or Jeff Hardy ran him over.
Yes.
And I look down for a second and type what's going on. And I look up, and Edge and Christian are stomping a fucking mud hole in Lita.
Right.
Yes.
They are stomping the shit out of her. I was like, what? And then the Hardys made the save.
Now, Edge speared her first, but yes, that's what
That was so weird.
a lot of weird stuff happens on Raw
Very
in 2000.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not even like Lucha Underground, where usually it was one man beating on a woman.
No, it was.
This was men double teaming Lita and both stomping a mud hole in her.
Yes.
That's just not right.
I agree, Brian.
Thank you.
Michael Cole interviews Kane, who has awesome new gear. This is my favorite Kane getup.
Well, he need a new getup because The Undertaker unmasked him
Yes.
at the pay-per-view.
Yes.
And he had the mask on the bike here.
That's right.
So there were a few things on this show, and one of them is coming up next, where I think this was the beginning of, I mean, they'd always done, plans change or whatever, but I think they were building up something with The Undertaker and the Kane and the mask.
May have been.
They just never did anything with it.
Yeah.
But that was weird.
So, Kane says people would not accept him because he's a monster, so he won't accept them. The only thing he'd enjoy more than beating up his brother, his normal brother, is beating the people's champion so he can represent the people.
His normal brother, The Undertaker.
Yes, the normal.
The dead guy
That
who
is the plan.
levitates and
Yes.
shoots fucking lightning out of his hands.
That's the idea.
That's his normal brother?
Yeah.
Wow. Of the two, Kane's more normal.
Yeah.
China tries to talk Eddie out of the match with Hunter. Eddie just orders her to stay backstage.
I need to handle this man-to-man, he says.
So it's Triple H versus Eddie Guerrero in the summer of 2000. I was expecting a 1-minute squash and a pedigree.
Nah, they had a hell of a match.
They had...
Although that was the finish until China ran in.
Yeah. But they had a 5-minute competitive Raw match. It was fine. Nothing you need to go... it sounds like a dream match, and it's nothing you need to go out of your way to go see, but it was a perfectly fine Raw match.
It was 3 minutes and 30 seconds is what it was.
Yeah. Eddie misses the frog splash. He gets slingshotted into the turnbuckle. He is about to be pedigreed and pinned when Kurt Angle runs in, hits them both with chairs. And then China chases Kurt away and then tends to both Eddie and Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty obvious that where they were going was Hunter and China getting back together, and Kurt and Stephanie getting together.
And poor Eddie.
And Eddie's just out to... Well, I mean, I'm sure at some point, this would all get back to where it was.
Was Eddie on the outs right now with...
Not yet, I don't think, but...
Okay.
I mean, one way or the other, that didn't happen. They built up something and didn't deliver.
No.
And drove off millions of fans.
Speaking of driving off millions of fans...
Oh, my God.
Al Snow and the Cat versus Saturn and Terry. Saturn, by the way, is still the prestigious European champion, for those of you keeping records of such things.
Kitty and Terry had less on than the hose.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, we didn't mention earlier that Stevie Richards match, Rikishi is now coming out with the hose. I mean, we mentioned it.
Yeah,
but that's the
about it.
storyline.
Yeah.
Because Goodfather is now good, so somebody's got to come out with hose. May as well be the fat guy.
The dancing guy.
Yeah. And they were wearing way more than Kitty and Terry were.
Yeah.
So they were horrible.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
I think I'm with you.
They were wretched. And this is a mixed tag, okay? They have a spot where Terry stands over Kitty, and she is going to do an earthquake splash ass onto her face.
Right.
She's not even near her head.
No.
So even if Kat hadn't moved, she was going to miss by a mile. They fucking do this spot, and they cut to Saturn, and he has to put his hands on his head like, oh my God, I can't believe she moved. So they go like a minute.
Yeah.
A minute of horrible fucking wrestling.
Yes.
Then the men tag in. And I figure, well, they'll do a spot, and then we'll go home. Al Snow and Perry Saturn decided, let's fucking do a match.
This is our G1 audition.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, I know the first half of this match is one of the worst matches of all time, but maybe we can save it.
Maybe.
That's their plan.
They fucking go in there and they are busting their ass. They're running spots. There's a tiger suplex.
Pump
and Saturn
handle suplex.
gives him right on his fucking head.
Tiger suplex through the air.
They fucking wrestled for like 5 minutes, okay?
Yes.
And then it all builds to naked Midian running in and dancing in the middle of this match.
Complete with a jet engine sound effect.
Okay, this wasn't a shoot. Okay?
Oh, really?
Like, this was part of the plan.
Let me write that down.
All right. But my point is this. Al, Snow, and Saturn knew that Naked Midian was just going to run into what was already a horrible match, which further begs the question, why did you bother trying so fucking hard? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I absolutely understand
What were
you're
they
saying.
fucking doing bumping onto their heads and necks in the middle of this fucking atrocity?
I don't know what to tell you. All I know is 3 or 4 minutes into the Saturn Al Snow battle, which, by the way, as hard as they are working and as much as they are dropping each other on their heads, nobody gives a shit, and I can't imagine why. Jerry Lawler outright says, "These guys can wrestle better, but they're not as much fun to look at."
Thanks, Jerry.
That is exactly what everyone in the crowd was thinking. And yes, Naked Midian runs in. There was a jet engine sound effect, which I thought I had like in another browser window. I rewound it to make sure, but no. They played a jet engine noise when Naked Midian hit the ring.
Is that what a streaker sounds like in real life?
I guess when they're this big,
You should know you saw one.
he was not
that's
as
right.
big as Naked Midian. I did see a streaker at the Stomping
But was there a
Grounds.
jet
right.
sound when he streaked by?
There was not. There's just my wife screaming. So,
Should have pumped that in.
I guess so. So Al hits this enormous moonsault. It's not the finish. The cat
The
falls
fuck is he doing this shit for? Like,
cat-
seriously.
falls into the ring, and Saturn grabs her and taps her out with the rings of Saturn.
And by the way,
Wow.
these girls obviously can't wrestle. Why did they come out here with 6-inch heels?
I don't
Well,
know.
they can't wrestle, so what fucking difference does it make?
I'm guessing it's going to be even harder to wrestle when you're
But they can't
out of
wrestle.
violence.
They can't wrestle. So who cares?
Okay.
They may as well have been on stilts.
Well, they kind of
It's not going to make it any better or worse. They could have their hands tied behind their back. It would have been exactly as shitty.
They cut to Kevin Kelly standing outside the Rock's locker room, just looking around like a nitwit.
Yeah.
Just looking to his left,
That's a great word, by the way.
to his right. Well, it fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Back to the left. Expression totally blank. Just killing time. The Dudleys are at WWF New York. They got a promo on Edge and Christian. We get a Rock promo.
Oh, man. You know, in the year 2000, when he made fun of Kevin Kelly every week and
Yeah.
called him a hermaphrodite and
An ugly hermaphrodite.
bullied him, and, you know, it was like The Rock, and this was just your random generic WWE geek. Now he is Kevin Kelly, New Japan commentator.
Yes.
The best commentator on this fucking planet. And when I see The Rock bullying this guy, that makes me want to fight. What an asshole. Lay off Kevin Kelly. Disgusted.
Aside from that, Brian, he had nothing to say. He won the night before. He's going to win tonight. But he's The Rock. And we haven't had a good Rock promo on the show for a while. This was a good Rock promo.
Yeah, that guy can cut a promo.
It was awesome. So it's Kane versus Rock in the main event. They're having a match.
It actually turned into some pretty good stuff.
There
But it was just a match for a while.
were some good near falls, a very dramatic build, and the crowd was nuts so into it. This was, I honestly, as far as the actual athletic accomplishment, Al Snow and Perry Saturn was better.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I don't know why.
But people were way more into this. So they're doing this match. Somebody throws a beer bottle in the ring.
There's a very important lesson to be learned from that, Vinny.
I'm listening.
Why were they doing so much shit?
I still don't have an answer.
It was a horrible match, and you know nobody's going to care. What are you doing?
I don't know. So they're brawling in the crowd. Kane is kicked out of a rock bottom. Rock kicks out of a chokeslam. Taker rides his bike down to the ring. He has Kane's mask from last night hanging from the handlebars. The Brothers of Destruction have a brawl. Taker hits a huge chokeslam. Somehow the referee misses all this. Rock crawls in the ring, covers Kane, but Kane still kicks out.
Yeah.
And so Rock immediately hits a rock bottom and wins.
Second rock bottom.
That is what happened, which begs the question, why did The Undertaker bother interfering if it didn't directly lead to the finish?
He didn't save the Rock either.
It was just weird.
It was a strange segment. That's the end of the show, everyone. Rock and Taker have a stare down.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's where they go next. I honestly don't remember.
It was just there.
Well, Brian,
Would you like to hear your music, Vinny?
people get very upset when we don't have the music.
It's true.
Well, I have it.
That's good.
The finishes on this show were Clean pin. Pin after multiple nut shots and interference and distraction. No finish in a 1-minute match. Pin in a hardcore match after interference from announcers. Clean pin. DQ due to run-in with chair. Submission after streaker hits the ring. And pin after interference.
That's it.